It's arguably the world's most renowned racetrack.
From the get-go, they know I need to be on it.
We knew the competition is going to be even harder now.
You could feel the pressure.
It was intense.
I was pretty nervous.
I reckon there's going to be a few surprises.
It's not like any other track in the world.
It's a scary track.
The elevation changes are incredible. So many blind turns.
If people miss their braking point, if people get scared at the wrong moment, you're straight into a wall.
We're getting close to the final, and they knew someone is going home. They could sense it.
This is the circuit where we're going to see people show us if they've got it or they haven't.
It's a pressure cooker.
Rudy Van Buren leads the way.
Oh, they're going to overlap. Massive contact. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another week of the Race All-Stars Esports Series, fueled by Rocket smartphones. And of course, while everyone's locked up at home, there's no real racing. We're bringing you this. Lots of entertainment online with lots of legendary drivers. Of course, I'm joined with someone who we've debated whether or not is a legend. I'm leaning toward it. Julian Palmer, how are you?
I'm chuffed with that. We're off to a great start here, Matt. This is, I'm on high spirits, but we're also set for a great day of racing action again.
I think we are. Absolutely. We've got a ton of legendary drivers, as I say. Like I said, they're in self-isolation, so we're all kind of sitting around. I'm in Canada. You're in the UK. We're all in our bedrooms, all cozy. I've got my slippers on under the desk, and we can see some of the drivers and where they're playing from today as they're all queued in and ready to go. Lots of them all practiced, looking focused. You can see Dennis Lind at the top. A couple of key names there, Julian. Who stands out for you?
I think from the real drivers, Dennis Lind made his mark last week, but also made his mark on Rudy Van Buren as they clashed in the final. And Mike Epps also was a man in the wars last week, and didn't probably get the points that his pace deserved. But I mean, there's so many good drivers across the field. We've seen different winners every single weekend, and that's including the pro drivers and the sim regulars, who still are the class of the field.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. They are the class of the field. Even Stoffel Van Dorn, former Formula One driver, was saying, hey, we're looking to be best of the rest. To beat those guys, it's extremely hard. They've done so many hours and practice and time into it. And speaking of time, we're going to look at the schedule for today, show you guys how we're going to bring you 7 races. We've got a ton of action over the next 3 hours. For those of you new to the All-Star Series fueled by Rocket smartphones, the racing is split into the Pro Cup featuring the pro drivers. As you mentioned, there's a number of them. And then we've got a sim race, including just the pro sim drivers. Each of those qualify 5 drivers for the final, and the real drivers actually get a second chance just in case things didn't go well for them. You know, we'll give them a mulligan, shall we say. And then, of course, the Legends Trophy, which is one of the most fun things that we do. Some of the best names in motorsport, both past and, well, I guess very much present, today. And they, of course, will be competing in 2 races, the first of which, the winner was Jenson Button last week. But that does mean that they get to donate $10,000, and then they got a reverse grid a little bit later on. If you want to take a look, a little bit more explanation for the Pro Cup, it, like I say, is divided into 3 races of 20 drivers, in which 5 will qualify through. And they are now into a championship. This will be week 2 of the championship, Julian.
Yeah, so we had a few rounds before the championship got underway, but now we're into point scoring as of last week. So here you can see the 5 from each heat go through into the All-Star Cup final, and then the Jones Soda last chance qualifier, they get the top 5 through as well. And we get our 20 drivers for the All-Star Cup, where the big points are picked up, but there are minor points as well for the heats in the last chance qualifier particularly.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously the last chance qualifier, like I say, applies to just the pro drivers. They're not as versed, shall we say. Maybe they need that second chance, staying out of contact, staying out of trouble. But now that it's a championship, we actually saw some massive names fall out of the qualifier for the sim drivers. So it's going to be interesting to see the mentality of whether they're going to take more risks early on, or if maybe they've got to keep their nose clean.
Yeah, I was really surprised last week. We had Rudy Van Buren, who was on the podium the first 4 events. And then round 5, points started coming in. And to be fair, he probably would have been on the podium, but he was caught up in a collision with Dennis Lind, who was a starring rookie last time, fighting right at the front, but also lost a load of points. Kevin Siggy, Jone Simoncic, they're race winners, and they scored nothing. So really, there's all to play for right now.
And Rudy's redemption might be one of the storylines, as we'll take a look at the championship table. As you say, he's, world's fastest gamer winner. Season 1 was a judge in the world's fastest gamer 2. He actually announced this week he's going to be racing in the German Porsche Super Cup Series. Deutschland, I don't know the official name. Sorry about that. But super cool for him. He's going to be driving a Porsche Cup car all season. And as you say, got contact, fell out of it. Now that we're in a championship, that changed the picture. It's Aaron Yujovski that had a phenomenal time out at Sebring. Bono Huis barely survived the qualifier and came in through second in the final. So it goes to show the qualifier surviving it is massive.
Yeah, and the thing for the sim drivers, there's only 4 at the top of that. There's 5 of them, of course, that made the final, but Van Buren finished lower down. The thing is, they're so competitive. We are expecting them to be at the top of the final. This is their bread and butter. But there's 20 of them trying to fight for 5 places in the final, whereas the pro drivers are in 2 heats. They get a last chance qualifier as well. And we've seen some absolute standout performances from them. But the sim drivers, it's a little bit more cutthroat. There's no last chance qualifier, as he said. So some of them are going to miss the final again this week.
And it's all to play for in terms of the prize as well. The winner of the sim drivers for this series will obviously get to be an F1 simulator experience for a day, get to try that out. And for the pro drivers, one of which we're about to chat with, Brian Herta, the winner for the series overall for them gets $30K to donate to a charity of their choice. But as we say as well, race 1, they can donate 10 grand maybe. As we'll jump in the call here with Brian Herta, maybe it'll be him today. If we can get him on the line, we'll see how he's feeling about it. The interesting thing with Brian as well is he's got a driver in the race that he can watch. Gabby Chaves is going to be racing for him hopefully in 2020, but in the future in the Michelin Pilot Cup Series.
Yep, Chaves was great last time out as well. Here's Brian.
Brian, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I was just mentioning the Pilot Challenge, the Pilot's Cup for IMSA, where you've got obviously a Hyundai TCR car running. You've got Gabby Chaves as one of your drivers who's racing today, was the best of it out. But first and foremost, before we get on the track this year, we're doing it all virtually. How's it been for you?
It's been a challenge. It's been fun. It's been really fun. I don't have my own sim, so this is actually my son Colton's sim. So I have to run over to his place, and he's been doing a lot of sim racing himself, so I don't get very much practice time. It's hard for me to get in here, but I'm having a good time doing it. It's a great bunch of guys, and we're having a lot of fun together.
Did Colton help coach you to get up to speed quickly?
No help. So,
wow, I'm surprised. I find it's difficult to sit down.
He's helped a little bit.
What was the hardest thing to adapt to in the sim for you?
Just the sensation, the way you feel the car, and I find that every time we make little setup changes to the car during practice and things, it takes me a while again to readapt to it. So I'm learning slower than I normally would like.
Well, hopefully you can get up to speed quickly today at Lime Rock. It's going to be a ton of fun. Thanks so much, Brian. Best of luck.
All right. Thanks very much.
Perfect. There you can see, and very cool that he's also a team owner as well as a past driver. There's so many guys, so much talent in this Legends Cup, Julian. I mean, it's really cool to see, and drivers you would never expect to see competing with one another.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've got F1 champions, we've got Indy legends, we've got Petter Solberg, who I'm really excited about today, the Rallycross champion and World Rally Championship champion. I've raced him in Race of Champions, and I tell you what, he's quick across all cars. So I still expect, even though he's not used to these single-seaters, still the old McLaren M23 they're in, I still expect Petter Solberg will give it his all. But yeah, there's just legends throughout. That's why it's the Legends Grid.
I noticed we also have Jason Plato joining. So perhaps it's a good time to mention that, of course, we look at Lime Rock, the track, but they're also going to be 25% damage on their cars. You got Plato in there. We've already seen some contact. It's going to be pretty wild. Pretty cool to see him joining as well. As I mentioned, we're at Lime Rock this week. The All-Stars remain in the Norma LMP3, the Le Mans prototype car. The Legends are in the McLaren M23. So another old school, massive rear tire, Formula One high-powered car, which with the adulation at Lime Rock, that's going to be a bit of a challenge over some of the hills.
Yeah, well, we saw it last week, really. Sebring was a very different challenge. It was some long straights, but really bumpy. And Lime Rock, it's got an old school feel to it. There's sort of grass runoffs, barriers. I've never been there, but I've seen a lap or two.
Well, third oldest continuously functioning or operating track in America. I think Willow Springs would be the first, not sure what second. So yeah, tons of history. They are going to be running the newer format, which is the uphill chicanes. That'll slow the speed down just a little bit, maybe keep them safe and controlled. As we'll take a look at the rest of the lineup, the guys that are going to be involved in this, of course, from the actual race rather than the legends themselves, the active drivers, and of course the pro sims. Race 1, Harry Tinknell's in there. He's one to watch, but you've already mentioned Mike Epps, definitely someone who's a little bit rough. And I think Chaves wasn't necessarily the quickest of the real guys last week, but he was very consistent and very smart.
Yep, good to see Danny Juncadella back as well. He was really quick early on. Don't think he raced last week, but every time he has raced, he's been really quick. And Jack Aitken as well in Heat 1. Here, Heat 2, you've got Dennis Lind is obviously the big one who was really, really quick last week.
Yeah, of course. And Stoffel Van Dorn as well, who is super solid in that group. Of course, the sim group comes up following that. This is where you get all the top drivers, the world's fastest gamers, many finalists. You've got Simic, you mentioned. Terzic actually won last week, but of course had a penalty, didn't get through the qualifier as a result. And there was a couple other guys that fell down. Siggy is a significant one, shall we say. And Yuyovsky was obviously the winner in the end. So very, very much looking forward to that. And when we get back, we will be very soon into the action. We'll check out qualifying and jump into the first race. So we'll see you then. And of course, for those of you still with us over on YouTube, we'll be keeping things going. Of course, we've got an interview coming up with a Pro Cup, but don't forget as well, the Rocket smartphones. You've got one over there, actually. They didn't get, I'm going to have to join this contest too. You can actually head over to their website right now, which we've got down below here in just a second. And all you got to do to enter the contest is name who will be the driver lineup for Williams, who's sponsored, of course, by Rocket. All you've got to do is name their two drivers in 2020. I'm not going to tell you who they are. You can do it yourself. There's the website down below. Julian, that phone's pretty cool. I think it has 3D as well, the IO Pro 3D phone. Yep, very cool phone. So make sure you enter the competition. I'm lucky enough to get my hands on one. I'm very impressed. Yeah, I haven't. I mean, admittedly, my post office hasn't been functioning as normal, and I live in the middle of nowhere.
Issues maybe over there.
Absolutely. And don't forget, of course, to hit subscribe down below this YouTube channel at We Are The Race on both Twitter and Instagram. And of course, check out therace.com. It's the-race.com for all of the action. Esports, tons of stuff going on over there. Jack Nichols has been telling us about a podcast or something. There's also a series on YouTube called Let's Go Grassroots. Pretty good. You might want to check that out. We've talked a lot, actually, Julian, about sim rigs and setup over the last couple of weeks and people that want to get involved. Esteban Gutiérrez is one of the big names today. He took the time to actually show us his setup at home.
Hola amigos, Esteban here. I just wanted to give you a quick tour of my professional office where I do all the virtual racing, which is a great subject in this situation. Over here I have Juan, which is the official F1 Mercedes simulator that I use mainly for the F1 game. This is a play seat, which is, I think it's pretty cool because you sit on the F1 type of position. Fanatec steering wheel and pedals. And here it's the main station where I control both of the simulators. And here I have the other one, which I use more for R Factor and iRacing. It's basically a SimLab rig with a direct drive Fanatec and Club Sport V3 pedals. These things are really starting to become very serious. I think everyone is now trying to get the best rig, the best pedals, the best hardware out there, which I think it's great because we all love competition, and I want to be the best and I want to have the best to compete in the best way in virtual racing. I think we're going to be doing that very often, so I hope to see you guys on the virtual tracks. Thank you.
He's absolutely right. We all love competition, and you can see some of these guys on the racetrack. How cool is that in sim? And what a setup. He's got 2 there.
That's quite high tech there. He's taking it pretty seriously, Esteban Gutiérrez. He's quite quick as well, to be fair. So
he's got 2 suits on the wall as well. He's got one for each sim rig as also. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to see him actually put them on, but he hasn't raced for Mercedes as far as I know. So they've obviously just sent him a couple of suits to whack up on the wall, look cool, and so he can watch them whilst he's simming away. Very nice. Yeah, exactly. Aspiring as he looks up at them. And I mean, the gear has been so great. A lot of it, I mean, we've got everything in this race. We've got Emanuele Pirro, who's my shout in the Legends Trophy, obviously playing on a deck chair, a camping chair, canvas at that, and his G25 plugged into his wheel. And you've got everything up to direct drive, full rigs. And then, of course, Villeneuve, who I think was the fan favorite and won everyone over on a controller last week. Oh, Villeneuve was epic. He won me over. And he did so well with it, just sitting there with his controller plugged into his laptop and totally old school. He was midfield. He did a really great job.
Yeah, super old school. Very, very cool. Of course, with that... And welcome back. Of course, we are getting ready to jump back into the action, or straight into the action, I should say. We'll bring in Jack Nichols, who will be joining us for all of the commentaries. Actually, I'm just being told he'll be on in just a moment. But either way, it's going to be a fantastic first race, Julian. We've looked a little bit at some of the drivers. We've looked at the lineup, obviously the track as well. Lime Rock, it's only 9 hours for me. That makes it pretty much in my backyard in Canadian terms. So, I mean, this is a lot to look forward to. And again, we've seen some of the big names. You've mentioned some to stand out. Is there anyone maybe you're looking to improve this week?
Everyone that didn't make the final, basically. The level's getting better all the time. I think you got the likes of Harry Tinknell, James Collado, who both are looking like they've got potential, haven't quite put it together yet. But honestly, the form guide's been so up and down. There's been people erratic. Gabby Chaves last week was the best pro driver. He only got through in the last chance qualifier. So it's really... There's a random element, and it's all about putting it together at the right time.
I think there's truth to that, absolutely. And I like that you shouted out Collado. I thought he looked good. Jack is joining us now. Mr. Nichols, I think you're on the line. Welcome to another weekend of the All-Star Esports Cup.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. I mean, and last week we had the scenario where we had points on the line, and that was all very well and good. But now the points actually sort of start to mean something. You know, we'll gather a little bit of momentum going into the next weekend. Really looking forward to that. Love Lime Rock. What a great flowing old school circuit, as you've said. I think this is going to be our best week yet. What a advertising thing to say.
That is tough to say, but I do love that we're into the Le Mans prototype cars again as well. I think the action at Sebring with those was perhaps the most competitive yet. In fact, they can get a little closer. They're a little heavier, so perhaps something to look forward to there as well.
Yeah, and I think we saw that you could just go a little bit further with the sort of wheel-to-wheel action. Not quite the sort of Dennis Lind, Rudy Van Buren kind of wheel-to-wheel where they both sort of ended up eliminated. But there's just that little bit more margin for error, which I think you're going to need around somewhere like Lime Rock. There's not a huge amount, to me, Julian, as a non-racing driver, although Julian Palmer is, of course, a racing driver. I got this in the post.
Oh, yeah.
Look at
we
that
love
beauty.
it.
You will not believe how much
and you're
that
saying
costs.
I'm not able to win the Legends Trophy, and you've got my 2016 car there.
I think that anyone Any driver
But to
featured
me-
in Jack
to me,
Nichol's
Julian-
homeroom is obviously a legend. But guys, we got to jump. We're going to look at the track really quickly. We've actually got an onboard lap that I think we can talk through. So you can get a look at this. And not as long as straight as per se Sebring, but the first straight's pretty quick in this run to turn 1.
This is going to be the overtaking chance really down towards turn 1. It's actually relatively quick and long corner when you get down to it. And the LMP3 car's got a bit of downforce as well. So you got a long turn 1. And then that flicks you straight into the left-hander at turn 2. And then Jack's right. It doesn't look from the outside like overtaking is going to be obvious like it has been at some of the others, but it looks like a really cool track.
And this is the new section, obviously. I said it's the third oldest continuously operating track in the U.S., but there's been some changes over the years. And you can see coming up over that rise, the car gets so light. And these, especially the McLarens with such a big grunt behind them, Jack, they're going to be a bit difficult to control.
Yeah, and if you go off circuit here as well on the grass, I think that's going to be something that is worrying. There's no way you can just run wide and it's sort of okay. You had it a bit at Sebring. There was some grass, but also there were places that would punish you. Here, if you go late on the brakes into the chicane and sort of use the old track, but in general, you are in big trouble if you make a mistake here.
Well, we'll look again at the pro racers in race 1. We've already highlighted on some, touched on them. Jack, maybe I'll get you to jump in here now that you joined us. Jonny Adam's been quick. Archie Hamilton's kind of been there about. Who stands out for you on this list?
I think Gabby Chaves, actually. He was very good last week, especially in the last chance qualifier. I'm waiting for Jack Aitken to get up to speed because he's a very quick racer, front runner in Formula 2, but hasn't quite managed to pull it all together yet in the sim racing world. And Yifei Ye, he was very, very good. The F3 racer from China was super strong last time out. So we'll keep an eye on him too. Those are mine to pick.
He's my dark horse in this, Yifei Ye. Here's our head-to-head, our feature battle, because Gutiérrez, we just got to look in on his sim rig. He's been quick and he's been consistent, but Chaves last time, as you say, Gillian, went through the last chance qualifier just to make the final and then ended up being the best of the pro drivers.
But that's how close it is, really. If you don't make it in the top 5 of the heat, it's still all open for these guys with the Jones Soda last chance qualifier. And Chaves really did a great job. It's all about hooking up your qualifying laps, staying out of the carnage which inevitably ensues, and then getting on with it.
And I think you're absolutely right. I watched some of the onboards from the guys toward the back, and staying out of the trouble. Qualifying is important. We're going to join now. Jack, Julian, please take us through it.
So, at the moment, is Harry Ticknell at the top times by the looks of things. He's set a 45.967 in these LMP3 Le Mans prototype cars. As across the line comes Jonny Adam, and he is currently sitting in 10th spot, but only 9/10 of a second separate the top 11. So it's Ticknell, Gutiérrez, Vautier, Ye, Pull, Chaves, Smith, Galal, and Jonny Adam, the top 10 at the moment.
Yeah, Galal just jumped straight up to second place as you say that. The time's really close. Bradley Smith up to third. Very interested by your pronunciation of Yifei Ye. Yifei Ye. I always thought it was, but that's pronunciation.
No, I was corrected on it. I was corrected on it last week, but apparently it's pronounced yeah, like Y-E-H-A-H. Y-E-A-H.
Ah.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. We're ahead of the game here. Well, you are anyway.
Yeah.
Now I've just caught up. Harry Ticknell's ahead of the game by 0.5 tenth over our favourite man, Yifei Ye.
We're on board with Archie Hamilton here, who's going in 12th place. Mike Epps slots into third. Look at that. That's incredibly close. Ticknell is getting better and better, you know. When he first joined, he was not hit and miss. That's a bit harsh on him, but he wasn't a proper front runner. But now, to be ahead of Ye and Epps and Gutiérrez and Cadea and some of these experienced sim racers, that's a very good lap from Harry Ticknell.
Yeah, really, really strong. And the times are coming in thick and fast, aren't they? 40 seconds to go. The lap is so short. We're under 46 seconds to do an entire tour of this track. That means you get it so close. And we've got down to Julian Cadea in 8th. 2/10 separating everyone as Ye goes to the top.
300ths ahead of Harry Ticknell. Here comes Mike Epps, who's third at the moment across the line, and Epps goes to the top. Still by less than 1/10 of a second, a 45.838 for Mike Epps. There you can see him running on the insert, swinging it through the right-hander, then the left. This is James Pull. He's going to come across the line. He was in 10th place, and I think he remains in 10th position. So Mike Epps takes pole position for the first race, but so close, I have to say.
Gabby Chaves, we all thought was one to watch. He's down in 11th. Gabby Chaves, a lot of work to do, and he was in the last chance qualifier last time. Got to find 6 places now to get through to the final, because of course it's the top 5 that will go through from each heat.
Yep, and that's where the points will be decided in the final. So here is the grid. Mike Epps on pole position for the Pro Driver Race 1. A very good qualifying performance from him. Esteban Gutiérrez down in 5th position. Jack Aitken 7th. Danny Unkadea I expected a bit more from as well. He's in 8th spot. Tristan Vautier in 9th. Gabby Chaves in 11th position. A bit of a frustrating one from him. Will he make it through to the final, or will he have to go into the Jones Soda last chance qualifier? James Headley 13th. 14th for Martin Plowman. 15th for Matt Griffin. Lachlan DeFrancesco's in 16th spot. And then we are ready to go. Waiting for the race to get underway with Mike Epps starting on pole position.
Mike Epps on pole, yeah, alongside him on the front row of the grid. Tinknell is 3rd, Galal is 4th. Wait for Mike Epps to get going. A long old hold here, and away they go. Good start from it. Bit of a wiggle, but he holds the lead. Yeah, comes across to try and get past Tinknell. There's a bit of wheel banging in behind, but Epps it is who holds the lead. Yeah, in 2nd, Tinknell 3rd, Galal in 4th, and there's a million cars off at the turn 1. I think Sean Galal was one of them, maybe. Danny Unkadea was one of them. He's already dropped well out of the running, but Mike Epps holds the lead. Chaos further back.
Yeah, Esteban Gutiérrez as well has tumbled down Bradley Smith with him, so a bit of skittles going on at the first corner, but it worked out perfectly for Mike Epps. You even saw from that camera angle we had, his reaction time was just that much quicker than Yifei Ye just behind, and he's already got 8/10 in front.
First lap of 11. Here's a look at the replay of what happened then down at the first corner. And it all got very busy. Where did it kick off? I think it was Gabby Chaves was involved. Chaves has been spun around. He was into Unkadea, and everybody else sort of followed chaotically.
I think it was the green and white car on the outside turned into an apex with pretty much 2 drivers on his inside. I don't know who was in that green and white car, but whoever it was, starting in about, give it 9th place, I think really squeezed in, and everyone on the inside then had nowhere to go.
Lap 2 of 11. In the first of the All-Star Series races, fully charged by rocket phones. Mike Epps is out in front, 1.5 seconds ahead of Yifei Ye in 2nd place. Tinknell 3rd, Tristan Vautier 4th, Jack Aitken up into 5th place. So as it stands, Aitken would be straight through to the final. Archie Hamilton 6th, Headley, DeFrancesco, Plowman and Smith the rest of the top 10.
Yeah, Aitken is he's getting up to speed with this fairly quickly actually. And now up into the top 5, which would be enough to get him through to the final. He took pole in the last chance qualifier. He took pole in last time out. He found a turn of pace, and he's kept going. As has Harry Tinknell. I'm quite impressed with him up in 3rd as well, who has found a good amount. Mike Epps and Yifei Ye both just launching over the 2nd apex of that chicane. Epps was miles off the track there.
Yeah. That was some big stuff there from Mike Epps. There we can see Yifei Ye in the inset there in the bottom left on lap 3 of 11, 2.1 seconds back from Mike Epps up in front. Harry Tinknell in 3rd. It's only about 0.8 of a second ahead of Tristan Vautier. Here's James Headley in 7th place, battling with Lachlan DeFrancesco in 8th spot. Into the first corner, DeFrancesco tries to go to the outside, but he's not going to get around there very easily, and indeed he does not. James Headley holds on to that 7th position. Jack Aitken in 5th place currently has a 1.4 second margin over Archie Hamilton, so that's quite a strong advantage for Aitken in that 5th spot.
They're all fairly spread out, the top 5. This is the closest battle we've got. James Headley defending from Lachlan DeFrancesco, both of them taking less curb through that chicane than Mike Epps launched through on the previous lap, but it's very tight, twisty around here. Difficult for DeFrancesco to get a run and enough of a slipstream to put pressure on Headley until they get back round here to the first corner again.
Down towards turn 1, lap 5 of 11. Headley holding on to the place for the time being at Lime Rock here on R Factor 2. The the race's all-star series. The top 5 will advance straight through to the final. And the champion gets $30,000 US to donate to charity at the end of this 3-week campaign, which is coming up next weekend. You can really use the curves coming up the hill there. I'm not sure we'll see the legends in the McLarens attack them quite so much.
No, that's the benefit of having a heavier LMP3, lower powered and more weight, that potentially can ride that curb a little bit better, and a better suspension as well. So they're abusing it, and always in those chicanes you find so much time by just taking as straight a line as you can, so long as you get away with it without any big braking or turning over them, which is normally where you unsettle and have a big moment and drop it, particularly on traction.
Good battle here with Bradley Smith round. Got on the grass and straight to the, I was going to say the barriers, but I think it's just a grass bank there. So that allows Esteban Gutiérrez up into 10th place. Matt Griffin in 11th position. Gutiérrez I expected more from as well. There you can see him in his rig, one of his many rigs that he has at home now. But 10th spot, it's going to be tough for him to climb up into the top 5 here, I think.
Well, he was last after the first lap, so Gutiérrez is on a bit of a charge back. But I wonder if he was our green and white car that caused a little bit of chaos at the start. He was qualified in about that area and then did plummet back. But right now, up in 10th, he needed 5 more places though. In 4 more laps is going to be tough. Overtaking so far has not looked super easy, but there is big chance for people to make errors, because we saw with Bradley Smith just touch the grass and then was just spinning around towards that grass bank exited turn 2.
Here's a look at the replay. Oh.
Yeah, that'll do it. Gutiérrez just ran into the back. It wasn't even a mistake from Bradley Smith. It was a mistake from Gutiérrez. Punted his rival off the track.
Lap 8 of 11. Mike Epps is leading the way. 3.3 seconds ahead of Yifei Ye. Harry Tinknell's in 3rd. 4th is Vautier. And here comes Hélio defending now from Esteban Gutiérrez, who's on a charge. Back up the order, trying to get him into 9th place here. Sends it to the outside, but then realises he can't get around there to tuck in back behind James Hélio, and then it's Martin. So they swing through the left-hander now and start to climb the hill here at Lime Rock Park. Mike Epps still leading though.
Epps doing a great job, 3.5 seconds. This has been pretty much what we saw week 1. Gutiérrez all over that apex curve there, like Mike Epps, and look at the run he's got now coming down towards the end of the lap, so close, tucked in behind Hélio, all because he straight lined that second part of the chicane and probably took a corner cut warning for it. Oh, and they both run really wide out of the final corner.
This is very, very busy down towards turn 1. Gutiérrez in the green car behind James Hélio in the blue car. As they swing into the right-hander. Oh, had to get on the brakes there. Almost going into the back of James Hélio. Gutiérrez has so much more speed, but just can't find a way at the moment because it's all these classic long sweeping corners.
Yep, here we go then through the chicane coming up at the top of this. Now, this is where Gutiérrez was really quick last time. And again, look how straight line he takes that left part of it, and he's swarming on the back of Hélio. This is a chance again. He needs Hélio to make a bit of a mistake, run wide, and he's going to be through quick as a flash.
Under the ABK Beer Bridge and down towards the final right-hander, out onto the start-finish straight. Mike Epps starts the penultimate lap of the race, lap 10 of 11. Gutiérrez just isn't quite close enough, doesn't get the run out of that final corner, does he? There's the mistake. Through he goes, off the track goes James Hélio, and Gutiérrez takes the place up into 9th.
Quick as a flash, there we go. That's Gutiérrez has got really great pace. He's just been struggling to make that overtake, and there James Hélio just running wide and Gutiérrez straight through. So up into 9th place. What's he got to Plowman ahead? He's got about a second there to the blue car just ahead of Gutiérrez in the green and white. And we're on the last lap. I don't think he's going to get there.
No, it doesn't look like it, does it? Here is Mike Epps, though. No one's going to get near him. 4.5 seconds in the lead over Yifei Ye. This is a really strong performance from Mike Epps. This makes me think he could be battling with the sim racers, potentially, come the final, because it's just been absolutely commanding from Epps as he comes over the crest. Was so busy last time out at Sebring, but this is more like the race I think he would have wanted as he comes under the ABK Beer Bridge, down through the final corner, and Mike Epps books himself a place in the final, comes over to the pit wall to take the checkered flag, and the applause from the imaginary team, and it's a win for Mike Epps, commanding Yifei Ye in second.
Easy peasy for Epps there. So Epps, Ye, Tincknell, Vautier and Aitken kind of cruised their way to the final there. No one from the top 5 had any sort of pressure. A nice simple race. I'll tell you what though, Epps only just qualified on pole with a last gasp lap. Without that, then we would have had a very good race on our hands there.
Here's a look at the results. Mike Epps taking the victory. Yifei Ye in second place. Tincknell third. Vautier fourth. And Jack Aitken completing the top 5. Archie Hamilton, Lachlan DeFrancesco, Plowman, Gutierrez, Griffin will all be advancing through to the final. Gabby Chaves, we spoke about him being the front runner in the Jones Soda last chance qualifier last time. He's going to have to do the same again. Danny Junkadea and Sean Galal both out of the race at the first corner after a somewhat chaotic moment down at turn 1. But Mike Epps it is who takes the win. Tincknell, Vautier, and Jack Aitken are the top 5 who go through. Once went to Wembley with Harry Tincknell to watch York City in the final of the FA Trophy. There's your fact of the day.
Is that a claim to fame? Is it?
Yeah, that's Harry Tincknell's claim to fame. I don't have a little model of Harry Tincknell. Let's go and join Mike Epps, the race winner in that first race. Mike, really strong performance. Qualifying, you only took it by less than a 10th, but the race, you just disappeared.
Yeah, funny story. I actually got a drive-through, like stop-go penalty during quali for exiting the pit lane wrong or something.
Yeah.
So I didn't do my first lap until about a minute to go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you had to drive around and serve your drive-through?
Yeah, I actually served my drive-through because I was on the chat saying what's going on the game, but I don't think anyone had time to respond, so I just served it and cracked on with it. So I went all right, really.
Yeah, that's a good effort. You should do drive-throughs more often. How much are you were very busy last time out in Sebring. Are you hoping for a bit of a quieter final this time around?
Yeah, I've taken all the target stickers off my rear end, so I'm hoping that's gonna really help. So we'll see how my pace compares to the sim guys, because some of them have been a little bit quicker than me in testing naturally. But yeah, so there we go. All good so far.
Cool, great. Well, don't leave the pit lane wrong for the next race. Congratulations.
Yeah,
so Mike Epps,
how to do that.
Mike Epps books himself a place in the final, which will be coming up later on. But when we return in a couple of minutes' time, it's going to be a thrilling time, because we're going to be into the action for the Legends race. The first race of that is coming up in a couple of minutes when we return.
Well, that was a heck of a first race, I think. I like how Mike Epps says he takes the targets off his back, but maybe he's got the bash guard off the nose as well, because there's no one in front of him this time.
He just did everything right. That was kind of a heat as you'd want to have a heat, just like an extension of a practice session, really. What I found most interesting there, he's not talking about the pro drivers. He's saying, how close can I get to the sim drivers? They've been a little bit ahead. That's close. That's really close. We've got a short lap here. And I like that Epps is feeling punchy in a good way this week as well.
That's the key. A good way. Gutierrez, great charge back through the field. Unfortunately, it yields him no qualification. He's outside the top 5. Gets another chance in the last chance qualifier. But man, he was driving as a man possessed. He was taking all of the curb everywhere.
I really enjoyed watching Esteban in this race. I have to say, he was fully committed, fully sending it, because I feel like he's had quite quiet races so far. Jolien will probably think of some race where he was amazing or really stood out. But to me, he's always there, sort of 4th or 5th and doing a decent job. But we don't get to see him charging through. Whereas I really enjoyed that in that race.
I think he's my tip for the last chance qualifier. I think already he had really good pace there. I think enough to be in the top 5. But I do think, and this is a bit of a hunch, I think it was him that caused that first corner pile-up by darting into the inside from the outside. So, as well as punting off Bradley Smith, naughty boy, Esteban Gutiérrez.
Well, obviously coming up next, Jack, as you said, it's the Legends race. A lot of people, I think, in terms of entertainment, this is the highlight because it's chaotic, it's messy. We've got a few different drivers joining us. We've got Nick Hamilton, obviously, that he's got Rocket sponsoring him all year, but he's also driving in VR. So I think he's our first guy in VR. We had a controller last week, VR this week. Pretty different, Jack.
That's really cool. Can I ask you a question about VR? Because I've noticed that everybody wants to be really stable. Like everybody, if they're proper sim racing, you turn down the head movements and the sort of immersive things. So is VR the quickest way to be?
I don't think yet, in my opinion. I've had this discussion with a few people lately. I think the resolution needs to get a little better still. The refresh rate. It's hard to look ahead and get a proper sensation when your eye is not actually detecting proper distance and movement. But in terms of immersion and spatial awareness and being able to look beside you and see people and getting a feel for the car, I think it's actually going to be way better. It's just not there yet. And to be fair, the other advantage of using screens is you can see, we haven't talked about these yet, but button boxes. Gutierrez has buttons and things mapped that he can see without the goggles on. Sometimes that prohibits your vision to those sort of tools.
Yeah, interesting.
I think one of our other drivers that we're joining this week is Pita Solberg. So we've said Nick Hamilton, we got Jason Plato. Obviously, Pita is coming in, rally champion. So if anyone can adapt to these conditions, perhaps it's him. Rally drivers are supposed to be able to adapt to absolutely everything in all situations. Jack, I think you're going to get a chance to speak with him. Perhaps that's something that could be impressive.
Yeah, really looking forward to this. Pita Solberg, thank you very much for joining us. Why are you here? Why have you ended up racing here?
I can't hear you because there's so many other voices around here.
But are you okay?
I am okay. Yeah, I'm ready. That's no problem, you know. But
are you excited?
Drivers that are joining this week. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm very excited and, of course, very nervous. You know, it's the first time ever I do this circuit driving. So we just have to wait and see, but I'm really looking forward to it. It's been really good fun so far with all the other drivers.
Great. Best of luck, Pita. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Wow, that was busy stuff there, wasn't it, from Pita Solberg? Felt like I was in my little internal monologue there. Very busy.
I want to know. Welcome back, everyone. I'll get to that point in a second. We are getting ready for the Legends Trophy. It's the highlight in terms of entertainment, I think, on our race schedule. And of course, as we've got a few more drivers joining us, there's promised to be chaos. We've got VR goggles on Nick Hamilton. Jason Plato joins the mix. We know he likes to get his elbows out. And of course, Pita Solberg, who can adapt to any condition, as rally drivers can do. Our head-to-head this week is a highlight from last week in a lot of ways, Jack, as we had a full direct drive rig going against a former Formula One champion, two Formula One champions if you include both sides of it, but former teammate as well on a controller. It's, of course, Jenson Button versus Jacques Villeneuve.
Look at Jacques Villeneuve. Look at him. Just on an Xbox controller, shifting with the right trigger by the looks of things, down with the left trigger. Unbelievable, because still just low traction control and low ABS on these cars allowed. I don't know how he's braking. I think that's the big thing for me. I don't know how he's braking with an Xbox.
Muscle memory, I guess. It has to be. I mean, I'm assuming that's maybe a question for him, using the triggers to accelerate and decelerate. We'll see how he gets on, because we're going to jump into the action right now with Julian and Jack.
And Button's off straight away down at turn one. Jenson Button goes round in his Brawn Tribute livery, but he's on provisional pole position for the moment. He's on a 46.776. Jan Magnussen is in second position. Dario Franchitti is in third spot at the moment. He had a huge shunt in practice the other day, but there you can see Jan Magnussen. Mika Salo sticks it into third place. Now, these races are fun, but they're also just cool. I think that's the main thing why people love it, because it's cool. Look at Salo's helmet. I think he's so Magnussen's helmet as he comes through the right-hander. It's all got the Danish flag. It's just oozes cool.
Looks like an old Gerhard Berger helmet to me. I mean, Berger's helmet is quite cool. Let's see what Magnussen can do here coming across the line. He has such a scrappy middle sector and does not improve as a result. He launched those curbs more than the LMP3 cars, the left and the right, and you just heard the rear wheels spinning as they took off. And Jan just keeping his foot in. Good stuff. Second place, though, still 3/10 away from Button. Pirro up to third and Brabham up to fourth now.
Remember, the winner of this race wins $10,000 to donate to charity. Jenson Button won it last week. and he's looking for another one this week. He's on provisional pole at the moment, but Tony Kanaan has jumped up into second place. You know what, Julian, this is getting tighter and tighter because Franchitti was third a moment ago, half a second away from Button. Now, 12 drivers are within 0.8 of a second. The whole field pretty much is within a second, except for Oriol Servia and Hélio Castroneves. This is unbelievably close.
Super close, but the checker flag's out and Button has it by a good couple of tenths still. Liuzzi launching over that chicane once again. He's in fifth, half a second away. Super close. We're going to be in for a good race here.
So Jenson Button will start on pole position again. He's really booking himself a place in these, isn't he? Because he came in for the first race, very last minute, and was impressively decent. But then since having any chance of practice, he's smashing it out the park.
He's quite dialed in, isn't he, now? He's he hasn't made a lot of mistakes. Pole position again. He won the main race last time as well, and he didn't make any mistakes then. He's going to be under pressure, though, because the field's so close here.
Tonio Liuzzi starts in fifth position. David Brabham in sixth. Mika Salo seventh. Dario Franchitti down in eighth spot. He was feeling quite positive earlier on when I spoke to him, but it's Jenson Button on pole position. Tony Kanaan alongside him on the front row of the grid. The Legends race about to get underway here at the Race All-Star Series, fully charged by rocket phones. Wait for Button to launch off the line. The revs will begin to rise. Button will stop weaving his wheel from left to right, most likely. Look, there he is actually doing it in real life. Just trying to get a bit of temperature in, I don't know. Here we go, wait for the lights. Button on pole, Kanaan second. And away we go. Immediately pulls to the inside in the blue and white car. Tonio Liuzzi sending one up the inside, and there is Magnussen, wheel to wheel with Button, and he squeezes him out wide. Button drops to second place, might be third because Emanuele Pirro is getting involved in the fight as well. But Jan Magnussen forcefully takes the lead. Button is second, Pirro's round. Emanuele Pirro, sitting on a fishing chair in his home, is now facing backwards at the first corner. Jan Magnussen into the lead.
Yeah, what a shame for Pirro, who had a great start, but not as good a start as Jan Magnussen. Absolutely launched off the line. It was all about the reaction time. Before Button had even got going, Magnussen was coming alongside, and now he leads the 2009 Formula One champ by 0.8. But Button was on pole. He's been the quickest man so far. Let's see if he can respond.
This was the move into the first corner. Really bold stuff. Oh, and there was some chaos further back. Absolute carnage further back. Looks as though everybody's managed to keep going, but someone's having about 1 million spins in there. But up at the front, it's Jan Magnussen, 0.6 of a second, nay, half a second, nay, 0.4 ahead of Jenson Button. Button is on a mission here. Tony Kanaan coming with them. Then there's a bit of a gap back to Mika Salo in fourth. Tonio Liuzzi in fifth. Darren Turner up into fifth, and there's the move from Button as he can't quite get through, all over the curbs on the inside. Can't make the move just yet coming into the chicane, but he needs to be careful, but Tony Kanaan is right behind him. This is brilliant. We haven't really had a proper battle at the front of the Legends race yet. They've been great, they've been fun, but we have a race now.
Yeah, Magnussen won 2 weeks ago. Jenson Button won last week. Kanaan is yet to win, and they're all battling now for top spot, and that really concertina because Magnussen got in way too hot for the chicane and Button got a super run coming out. So Magnussen, he's got to not crack under pressure here as they come up to the chicane again. Jenson's really quick, but if Magnussen could just keep braking points, apexes, keep on the right part of the track, then it is not that easy to overtake.
Lap 3 of 13. Jan Magnussen in front in the blue and white McLaren M23 from the 1970s, in which Emerson Fittipaldi won his world championship, or one of his 2 world championships. Button is out wide on the grass. Fittipaldi down in 15th place at the moment, says he feels like a dinosaur racing these, but he's getting quicker and quicker. We're on board with Button in the inset in the top right.
Really close through turns 1 and 2. He's closed up a little bit there, a bit of a slipstream as well. It's this middle sector that he's got to just ramp the pressure up to Jan Magnussen, who did crack before, but Button couldn't quite, by a matter of inches, get his Brawn liveried McLaren M23 up the inside into the final corner. Magnussen all over the curbs. 1, 2, and then 3. Skips up over the right crest on the exit of the chicane. But look, Button is even closer this time. He might have a run down at turn 1 here.
Under the ABK Beer Bridge and down towards the final corner. Button turns in, gets on the power. He's right in the slipstream here, Jan Magnussen. And you can see the slipstream working. Is Magnussen going to defend? No, Button has the inside line. He's laid on the brakes. Oh, he's lost it. He's sideways. He just keeps it together. You saw the camera in the bottom left. He suddenly gave it full opposite lock. And it took a couple of seconds for the game to catch up. And we saw what had happened. They both nearly went off at turn 1.
Unbelievable car control from the two of them there. Button on the inside. Magnussen, I think, probably should have defended the inside on the straight rather than try and outbrake the man on his inside at the corner, and actually really risked it by turning in on Jensen there. But they both got away with it somehow. Status quo still at the top, and Magnussen somehow holds on for another lap, but we're not yet at half distance. I am surprised that Kanan's not more in the mix here. He must have made a mistake on the last lap.
He did. On the last lap, coming up through the chicane, he ended up jumping onto the grass. Darren Turner has just emerged from the pits. He was running in 5th place, so he's obviously got involved in some scraps. Magnussen leading, Button second. There is Tony Kanaan in 3rd spot, dropping away a little bit. Dario Franchitti in 6th place now, as he tries to close in on Adrián Fernández in front of him. Franchitti, the first race winner, as he swings through the left and the right, getting up on the curves. He's in front of David Brabham. Emanuele Pirro's recovered to 8th place. And Jason Plato, in his first race in the championship, is up into 9th position, which is a decent effort. I don't know if I've ever seen Jason Plato drive a rear-wheel drive car in my life with my own eyes.
He used to race single-seaters, didn't he? I didn't
No,
watch
I know,
him when
but
he was in Formula Vauxhall in 1992 or whatever it was, but he has done.
Here comes Franchitti up the inside of Adrián Fernández, down into turn 1, and he gets through. Oh, Fernández comes back at him and he's on the grass. And look at Franchitti, not happy at all. Absolutely furious. He's in the Armco, a shake of the head. Oh, and Pirro, and what? Everything's going off. Brabham was flying off the circuit there, and Pirro is up into 5th position. Plato is up into 6th. Castroneves, Franchitti, Fernández, Brabham, the rest of the top 10. There is Brabham coming back onto the circuit behind Brian Herta.
So Franchitti lost out at turn 1, Brabham lost out at turn 3, and all the while we've got a fantastic battle still going on between Magnussen and Button, who are pretty much side by side, if we can cut to them, because that is for the race lead. Here we go.
Through the first corner, Button was in the slipstream, but he couldn't make the move stick. Lap 8 of 13. Absolutely nose to tail. We go on board with Jenson Button in the inset. Back on the power now, and he's got a really good drive out of there, but surely not in chicane. He's thinking about it. No.
Magnussen's got in a bit hot, though. Here we go. Jenson on the exit might get a run if he can get to the inside. He can't quite. What a race between these two. Button is piling on the pressure to Magnussen, but he's just about managing to hold on the Dane.
I love this. Jan Magnussen across the line to start lap 9 of 13. Just holding off from Jenson Button, who weaves to the inside to put Magnussen off a little bit, but it doesn't work. Magnussen holds the place. Tony Kanaan still 1.7 seconds back from the race leaders, who are just 0.2 of a second apart. Bit of a slide there from Button as he came into turn 2. Wonderful cars to watch these legends racing. They're four-wheel drifting all the way.
Jenson's really wringing the neck of that car. Look at that. He's so close to the back of Magnussen into the chicane. Somehow they didn't touch, but Jenson is pushing like mad. Button just behind Magnussen for the race lead. If anything happens between the two of them, Kanaan is still within touching distance in the red car in 3rd. But this is phenomenal. Button again four-wheel drifting out of the final corner.
Oh, Brian Herta facing the wrong way, further back in the field as he tries to recover. The only MT reminds me that Plato drove the rear-wheel drive Subaru just a couple of years ago, and I went to watch a race at Thruxton, so I'm absolutely talking nonsense. Here's Jenson Button in the inset, half a second now back, and Magnussen. Lap 10 of 13 in the Legends Trophy. There's $10,000 on the line to the Winning Drivers Chosen charity. Button won it last week. Magnussen's after it. He seems to be quicker everywhere, Button, doesn't he? But just can't find the room to move.
Magnussen's driving some perfect defensive lines. Just that one moment that they touched down at turn 1 where I think probably could have covered the inside. Apart from that, he's just positioning his car perfectly on the apexes and not missing any of the exits. And these cars are so tricky to drive on the exit. It's easy to make a mistake. This time Button can't quite go through at turn 1 still, but he's as close as he's ever been, almost pushing Magnussen round turn 1.
On behalf of myself, I'd like to apologise to Petter Solberg, because the reason he missed and isn't in this race is because he missed qualifying because he was talking to us. So huge apologies there to Petter Solberg. But great to have him here. Hopefully he'll be back in the future. Lap 11 of 13, and in fact for the second race later on. Lap 11 of 13, Jenson Button attacking and Magnussen as they come over the crest. Has he got it? Looks to the inside. Oh, not quite. There's nothing between them as they come now under the APK Beer Bridge. Round the final corner again. This has got to be the move, hasn't it? He hasn't been this close before, out onto the back straight. We've got the rear view from Jan Magnussen up into the top right. Button's closing. Not enough.
Magnussen was deep on the brakes though, and Button closes again through the apex. Can he get the exit to just pressurise Jan Magnussen around this penultimate lap? I think Jensen's going to go for it. I can't see Button just sticking behind Magnussen when he's this close. It must be so frustrating for him to be this close. He is clearly quicker, but Magnussen is driving the perfect defensive race right now.
Lap 12 of 13, the penultimate lap. So this is Button's last run towards the first corner, but back markers.
That's the last thing that Magnussen needs right now is the back markers. It's is that Emerson Papis or Herta that they're coming around to lap? Oh, fair play. They got right out of the way. And Button can't get through there, right onto the apex, almost hits the back of Magnussen through there. And look at this into turn 2. This is a chance.
Quite able to pull it off, Button. He's rapidly running out of opportunities to make the overtake on Jan Magnussen. Just half a lap to go as they come down towards the chicane. It's been a brilliant race in this Legends Trophy. Oh, sends it sideways across the curb, across the grass, still right up behind Magnussen. But I think Magnussen surely is going to hold on. Button won't have a look into the final corner. You wouldn't have thought. Down they come into the right-hander. And what a brilliant race this has been in the Legends Trophy. Won across the line by Jan Magnussen. Button's going to pull out of the slipstream as they come towards the line. But it's Magnussen who wins by 0.03 of a second. What a race from two legendary drivers, and Button looks absolutely spent after that.
Oh, he must be so frustrated, but what a race we just witnessed between Magnussen and Button for the race win in the Legends. Epic stuff, really fair stuff as well between the two. Just the one time that they touched down at turn 1, it was only a slight touch that was beautifully held. Phenomenal race.
Wow. That was absolutely great, wasn't it? Around the Lime Rock circuit here, it was the win for Jan Magnussen, Jenson Button second, and in all of that, somehow Tony Kanaan dropped away, and Mika Salo ended up on the podium. So great drive from Mika Salo. Pirro, despite having about 1 million inches, ended up in 4th position. You can hear Pirro on the latest episode of the Races Esports podcast, which you can download from anywhere that you get your podcasts. Tony Kanaan in 5th. Dario Franchitti ended up in the barriers, but still recovered into 6th position. And then further back, you've got a lot of non-finishes. Darren Turner, Tonio Liuzzi, Montero, Prios, Servio, Juan Pablo Montoya as well. Not finishing that race. Well, what a race that was. Petter Solberg not finishing either after we accidentally missed the qualifying. Now we can hear from our first two in that race. Jan Magnussen, we'll start with you because you had a lot of pressure there to hold on to that win. Great race.
Yeah, no, that was a fantastic race. Jensen was being very sportsmanlike about it. He had more speed than me. He had a couple of goes into one, and we hit and got sideways, but he did it in such a perfect way that none of us came off. So I'm so happy. That was a tough race. I'm shaking all over.
Congratulations, Jan. That was brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now we can check in with Jenson Button, who didn't quite manage to take the victory there. But Jenson, you were so close. We loved that. That was brilliant racing.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was made a little bit more difficult for me at the start because, I can't see a flag man. I hear the beeps, and I thought I went at the right time, but obviously not. But what a fun race. Jan was awesome in terms of he knew where to put the car, and I threw out the inside once, and we tapped, and we were drifting through too, which was it's a lot of fun, and it's a little bit more difficult in the rear in the sim. So for us to be able to race that close to the end, awesome.
Great. Well, congratulations. Enjoy the reverse grid race.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. See ya.
So Jenson Button then taking the win, and him and Jan Magnussen having a little chat there as well, which is great to see because they're all on the same call, and so they can all speak to each other at times. So that was the first race in the Legends Trophy. Jan Magnussen gets the $10,000 to go to a charity of his choice. But in a couple of minutes, it's time to go back to the pro driver action.
Absolutely, yeah. We go back to the pro driver action, and what a race it should be. That was the best race we've seen yet. As you mentioned, the 10K, Jenson had that last week. He donated to House of Ruth, domestic violence charity. So we'll see where Jan goes with his. If that's just the start of the day, man, oh man, this next pro race could be something special.
That was the best race since racing stopped, I would say. That's
since
the best
racing began.
race I've seen.
That was like it felt like Monaco 92 with Senna and Mansell and Magnussen basically doing a Senna job that day, positioning his car perfectly everywhere, and Jenson Button just behind had all the pace like Nigel Mansell did back then, but just couldn't find a gap, and any slight mistake, it looked frustrating from Button's point of view because there was no chance. But to drive a defensive race that Jan Magnussen just did there, it's so tough, particularly on a simulator where you can't quite feel your references, your rear end sliding, as Button said. You can't feel it. And to drive like Jan did was phenomenal.
Well, and to drive like Jenson's Mr. Smooth, he was shagging that thing trying to find a way by. That was just awesome to watch. And I mean, those guys coming from real world, if you sat them down and you said, rate that race, heart rate and adrenaline and compared to normal, I mean, that's up there. That's got to get you going. That just shows you how serious and fun sim can be. One of the drivers that we've obviously had involved, which I think is super cool, is Emerson Fittipaldi, perhaps of all the legends, the most legendary, certainly someone who commands and deserves a lot of respect in the racing world. He's been getting quicker and quicker. You guys touched on it that race, closer to the back. I think we've got a chance to check out his sim rig, just as we had Esteban Gutiérrez show his to us earlier. It's Fittipaldi set up at home.
This is my new cockpit, AIS Simulator, one of the best in the world. It's like the Mercedes team, Formula One team. And I have Anton and his team behind me. Now, as a driver, I have no excuse. Best team, best equipment. I have to perform against a lot of legends. It'll be difficult because I still feel like a dinosaur of simulator. But I'm improving every race. I hope not next 2-3 races will be extremely competitive.
You touched on it, Jack. You said the dinosaur in all of this, but he's getting up to speed. And what a rig that is. The All in Sport, I think, uses a Leo Bondar kit. That is the best that it gets right there. That is pretty cool.
Yeah, the amount of money you can spend on these. What's the most, if you were going from scratch, what's like the most you could realistically spend, Matt?
I mean, you give me no budget, I'll spend it all. You can spend a lot. I think the All in Sport ones are up there. I don't know the exact price. I know Cool Performance makes a kit that you can get basically an F1 cockpit in your house that has full motion. They're around 30K euro. So yeah, you could spend a lot. Like we say, you can get into it for relatively cheap, but there's a lot. Nonetheless, I think Fittipaldi's actually standing by, so you can chat with him. Excuse me, I apologize. I'm getting the wrong information. We just checked out his rig, but I thought he was going to be standing by for a call. Either way, super cool that he's got that rig. And like you say, lots of different ways to go about it, Jack. I'm wondering when Julian is going to get his rig in his house and get in one of these races.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting like you are, guys. When the legends, when the phone rings,
go to a shop.
No. When the phone goes and someone wants to invite me onto this Legends race, then I'm there. Or failing that, we'll do a commentators race, and I'm there either. Yeah, keep it coming.
Everybody wants to know also about all your ordnance survey maps, but we don't have time to hear about that on your bookshelf behind. So that's a little teaser to come later.
The mystery will go on.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, welcome back to the Race All-Star Series, fully charged by Rocket Phones. And of course, we are getting ready for race number 2. It's our pro drivers, our second group, and we'll take a look at who's in this race because the first one had some contact at the back, but had some pace. We noticed Mike Epps might be in a position to challenge. He seems, unlike Van Dorn, who said, we want to be best of the rest. He seems like he's committed to try and do so. So race 2, maybe it's Dennis Lind that wants to do the next in this race, Jack.
Yeah, I think this is going to be interesting to see the sort of comparison with the Group 1 guys, and then with the sim racers that'll come a little bit later on, because I've really enjoyed this Lime Rock track so far as well. It's so smooth and flowing, and there are just about enough opportunities for overtaking.
Just about. I mean, we saw Jensen struggle in the Legends race a lot, Julian. Where else? Turn 1 obviously comes into mind. Where else is there maybe a chance to get a nose in? Because it's so flowing and undulating. It's pretty tricky.
Yeah, borderline nowhere else, but a little tap and go, a la Esteban Gutiérrez, and then anything's possible. So, look, it's so tough to overtake. Qualifying is clearly critical, but apart from that, you've just got to try and push pressure and make the guy ahead force him into a mistake.
Well, you don't have to have a guy in front of you if you get qualifying right. We'll see who ends up on the pole. Jack Nichols, I think this is primed to be another excellent race. Lind, the one to watch.
Yeah, and Dennis Lind is on provisional pole position at the moment, although he's only just ahead of Max Günther. Ed Jones is in 3rd. Harry Newey up in 4th place, and Jonny Adam in 5th, all separated by less than 1/10 of a second. Have Newey and Adam done exactly the same lap time as well, like it's Jerez 1997? Wow, this is going to be super tight. We're watching Ed Jones here. Dennis Lind has done his lap. He is done. Max Günther, who is fresh from winning the first Formula E race, is now racing in the Race All-Star Series here in Lime Rock, and he's currently in 2nd place. There he is, with the sun coming through the window. I'm surprised he hasn't got the blind fully shut there. That would drive me nuts. But Günther in 2nd at the moment. He's up on Dennis Lind, I think, in Sector 1, but he's down in Sector 2.
Yeah, he's got a bit wide as well, so that could be the end of Günther's chance to improve. Hansen's improved to 4th. We've now got 6 within 900ths. Collado improves to 7th, just over 1/10 away, but down in 7th position. I'll tell you what, this heat, Günther didn't improve and flies off the track in a checker flag shunt. But this track, that qualifying, made the first heat look like it was really spread out. They're so close. Anyone could be in the mix.
Down pole position there. That's what happened to me. Dennis Lind then on pole position. Looking forward to getting this one underway, because he and Rudy Van Buren had contact last time out, but Dennis Lind this time is on pole. Max Günther 2nd. Ed Jones is 3rd. Kevin Hansen is in 4th place, the rallycross racer, as we get ready for another action-packed event around Lime Rock, with Dennis Lind starting on pole position. So we wait for the lights to come. There is Lind. Max Günther in the blue car on the inside, in 2nd on the grid. So we wait for the lights to get, the race, I should say, to get underway. The top 5 will go straight through to the final of the Race All-Star Series. There is Dennis Lind. Not ready yet, is he? Not weaving the wheel around the way we saw Jenson Button do earlier on. There's the front view in the top right from Max Günther's car. Lap 1 of 11 about to begin. Little sip of water for Lind. The revs rise. A long hold and the races go. Decent start from Dennis Lind. What a start from Ed Jones. Trying to peel through the middle of them immediately. Down towards turn 1, and Lind's been bulked, and there's 3 off. Surely, no. They all somehow stay on the circuit, but Max Günther's in the lead. Lind recovers into 2nd place. Someone's heading straight to the barriers. I think that's Harry Newey. Dennis Lind in 2nd. 3rd for Kevin Hansen. 4th for Ed Jones, who got a rocket start, but couldn't do anything about gaining paces. But Max Günther it is now, who's in the lead, with Dennis Lind in the bottom left there in 2nd place.
Yeah, Ed Jones got a rocket start, but also Max Günther on the inside. So Lind was the one that lost out. Jones then just had a slight touch with Günther and then lost out all of his hard work down at turn 1. So started 3rd, pretty much took the lead, but then was on the wrong line, got muscled out back at turn 1. But Gunter leads from Lind, 8/10 the gap, but a bit like the last race, the pole man losing out, and now we got Lind, who's been so quick so far, trying to chase down for the lead.
Look at this, it was 4 wide into turn 1. I was convinced they were all going off the circuit there. Lind, he dropped down to 5th and then came up the inside and came back past them all. Further up the order, it was Collado that hit off Harry there, I think.
Yeah, Lind's racecraft there was exemplary down at turn 1. He was in a shocking position down to the braking zone. Saw it all happening, managed to basically undercut everyone on the exit. Everyone went in a bit deep. Lind then managed to see a gap at the apex on the inside, launched for it. Luckily, there was no one going in deep behind him to tip him into a spin, and he managed to emerge somehow in second because his start was poor, and he's got away with that with a brilliant piece of driving down at turn 1.
Mr. Bismarck says, I live near Lime Rock and knew he just drove over my lawn. That's how far off the circuit he was. Max Gunter leading, Lind in second at the moment. It's James Collado in 5th position there, who we're seeing. Oh, he's put a nice little motocross bike behind him. Very nice stuff, James. And he is in 5th place at the moment, just in front of Jonny Adam. This is Tom Ingram up in 9th place, trying to challenge Maxime Martin. Tom Ingram, a newcomer to the series, former Ginetta racer. Did he do British touring cars, Tom Ingram?
Oh, he's very successful in British touring cars, Tom Ingram. Still is, I believe. Championship challenging in the same era as Jason Plato driving a Subaru. So you're little bit of a gap in your knowledge appearing here.
There. Lap 4 of 11. Max Gunter leading. Ingram in 9th place ahead of Michael Benyahia in 10th position. Still, Collado has got a decent advantage over Jonny Adam in battle over 5th position and the final advancing point. Dennis Lind now just half a second away from Max Gunter. Now
yeah, this is going to be the fight. Lind and Gunter separated by only 16 thousandths in qualifying, and now Lind trying to get back towards Max Gunter in the race. Drivers, they're really abusing the track limits through that chicane, but getting away with it so far, and often just dropping a wheel on the exit of the following corner, that final corner. But they also seem to be getting away with that so far as well. So that's why you got these dust and bit of dirt kicked up. Just drivers dropping a wheel here or there, but so far managing to keep it pretty tidy and not losing any pace with it.
This is Kevin Hansen in 3rd place. Bit of a mistake there for Ed Jones. Ran out wide, got on the grass a little bit. Manages to hold on for the time being, although he's under big pressure now from Collado. Those 5 have pulled away a little bit more from Jonny Adam in 6th place. So Adam a little bit too far back on lap 6 of 11 that Max Gunter is starting, or has already started. No, there he goes, across the line. Lap 6 of 11, Gunter leading, just 0.4 of a second ahead of Dennis Lind. Hansen 3rd, Jones 4th, Collado 5th.
Nice little group forming. Hansen was almost in it, but he's just about managed to stretch his legs in the black and white car, ahead of Ed Jones there in the Gulf colours, blue and orange, and James Collado in pretty much the exact inverse colours, orange and blue. That's 4th and 5th, but right now they're all going to be through into the final with no mistakes. This is the battle for the lead. Look how close Dennis Lind is now, 3/10. We could be set for another thriller, just under 5 laps to go, and Lind now pressuring Gunter heavily.
Through the final corner, out over the start, finish straight. Once more to start lap 7 of 11. Lind just under half a second away from Max Gunter in front. As they come into turn 1, they're both pulling away from Kevin Hansen in 3rd place. There's a yellow flag. Someone's off in sector 1. Not sure who that is. It's not a front runner, so not a huge concern. Collado's 5th, although Jonny Adam's within a second now of James Collado, so that battle could run and run. Lind, though, just edging closer and closer to Gunter. Not right on the back of him just yet. Look how much curb they take. Amazing.
Yeah, really grunting coming out of that chicane up the hill in these LMP3 cars. Heavy, but with good suspensions, able to take the curbs much easier than the old classic McLaren M23s that the legends were driving just before. That was it Newey or Jack Doohan going off out of the pit lane down at turn 1. Not their finest moment, but luckily didn't get in the way of these two. Gunter and Lind still nose to tail, and Lind sliding his way out of turn 2, really desperate to get on the throttle. and try and shut that gap to Günther up front.
Tom Ingram is driving using the clutch as the throttle because he's got a problem with his throttle pedal. So that's an interesting one. So I wonder if he's left foot accelerating or whether he's got his legs crossed underneath the table. I don't know which way around that would go. Lap 8 of 11. Günther leading, Lind second. Those are the two we're watching now. Down through the final corner to start lap 9 of 11. And if anything, Günther's had a really good lap here and pulled away from Dennis Lind.
Yeah, Lind and Günther both very comfortable. My Caps might be less comfortable seeing this because they're 4.6 seconds clear of Hansen and co in third downwards. Hansen still with Jones and Collado for company. But this is a Mike Epps style of drive from Heat 1. Günther with Lind, the two of them, clearly the class of the field. And if Epps just had eyes on the sim drivers, he might want to watch out for these two as well because they both look like they're breezing into the final. Lind, I think, with the challenge just dwindling slightly in these closing laps, it doesn't really matter. They're both going to go through. It's just about being in the top 5 right now, which they'll surely do. This is where it's much closer, though.
Yeah, Jonny Adam right up behind James Collado as they come out over the start-finish line to start the penultimate lap of the race. There is Jonny Adam on the bottom left. He's trying to make a move on Collado and book himself a place in the final. So this is where it's all up for grabs on this penultimate lap, and he's closed in, to be fair. He was about 1.2, 1.3 seconds back from Collado earlier on. Now he's within half a second of the Englishman.
Yeah, and I think Adam started in the top 5 as well, so he lost out on the start and basically is trying to recover from that 10 laps later. Lap to go after this one. Through the chicane, launching over the grass and not really able to catch Collado too much there. If anything, Collado looks closer to Ed Jones ahead.
Max Günther, though, out of the final corner to start the final lap. You wonder whether he's just backed off a little bit from, or whether Dennis Lind has just backed off a little bit. It's very close behind between Hansen, Jones, Collado and Adam, as we saw. But there is Max Günther in the inset now, making his final lap of the race. Collado now closer to Ed Jones than Adam is to Collado. But Max Günther with a very strong drive, really in the zone for this one. In the inset, in the top right, you can see that battle for 5th position. And there's the look. Oh, that's a bold one going into the chicane from Jonny Adam. Thought he'd gone for it, didn't quite work out. But meanwhile, Max Günther down through the final corner to win the second pro driver race in the race All-Star Series. He's happy with that. A pump of the fist, and it is going to be Collado in 5th position
Max
as
Günther
Jonny Adam
and,
drops away.
Dennis Lind, could you stand by, please?
Yeah, I think Collado has, Jonny Adam has dropped away and come into the pit, so I wonder if he had drama on the last lap. Günther, Lind, Hamilton, Jones, Collado, the top 5.
Good race for the edge places. It was Collado on the back of Ed Jones at the end on the last lap that almost had a dive but didn't. And yeah, Jonny Adam disappeared right at the end. So shame for him, but he'll be back again in the Ed Jones last chance qualifier. The Jones Soda last chance qualifier without Ed Jones.
So, sorry, so is Jones in the last chance qualifier or not?
Jones this time will not be in the Ed Jones I keep doing it. Ed Jones will not be in the Jones Soda. There we go. You heard it here first.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. But everybody outside of the top 5 will be through to the Jones Soda last chance qualifier. Now let's check in with the race winner, Max Günther. Max, congratulations, great start. And then you had a bit of pressure from Dennis Lind throughout the rest of the race. Busy day for you.
Yeah, busy day. I just came from the Formula E race, which has been very successful with the victory there. And yeah, I didn't practice a lot here in the LMP3 car, but yeah, I really enjoy it since the first meet I'm driving, and yeah, it's good fun and great to have this victory now in this heat.
Yeah. Do you change like rigs between races, or are you still in the same place?
I'm still in the same place. So I have things there where I'm able to make quick adjustments and then be ready to race with the same hardware in just a few minutes time from Formula E now to the All-Star race.
Cool. Best of luck for the final.
Thank you very much. See you later.
See you later. So there's Max Günther, the race winner in the pro race. The top 5 go through in a couple of minutes' time. We've got the last chance qualifier and more action from the legends.
And don't forget, of course, Jack, we also have the Sim Racers group coming up. Another race where a great battle at the front, but the qualifying looks to be the most important asset to all of this because the overtaking just isn't possible.
Yeah, it looks pretty important, doesn't it? For the Sim Racers, there's an extra. Did I sound a bit nonplussed about that? No, look, qualifying is critical. But for the Sim Racers, there's no Jones Soda last chance qualifier. So I think there might be a little bit of extra edge. They're all going to be, if we've seen that Heat 2, the top 10 separated by 0.15, I can only imagine the Sim guys are going to be even closer.
I can completely agree. I'm wondering if perhaps dirty air, because some of the Sims do simulate dirty air to an extent, if that's a problem, because we're seeing the chicane, everyone's close, but getting onto that straight, no one's really getting that run onto the front straight that we would have expected to maybe even pull alongside before the breaking point, let alone trying to send it up the inside for turn 1, Jack. I don't know if maybe now that there's no last chance qualifier, we'll see a little more audacious moves or bold moves from the Sim guys.
Yeah, I think that's really a possibility because this is their big race. Okay, there's points up for grabs later on in the final, but it's top 5 or go home for these guys. So I think they've really got to commit if they want to make these moves.
Well, we took a look at his rig a little bit earlier with Emerson. I thought we were going to join him then. We've got him on the line now, Jack. So if we get a chance, let's talk to the legend himself that's playing in one of the greatest rigs I've seen.
Emerson Fittipaldi, thank you very much for joining us. How are you getting on? How was your first race?
Team Redline race leading in Oregon. There we go, Oregon. Team Redline race leading in LMP1's, Burst Esports in P2.
Emerson, can you hear us?
This is all going to get mixed up because they're heading on towards the pit lane. Race Clutch 16 in P3, Nirvana Sim
Seems
Racing
like a no. I think we might have to leave Emo for now. We'll get him at some point. The 2-time Formula 1 world champion. I've never interviewed him before. That's made. I now have. I think I now have officially interviewed him, and that's made my. Maybe I'll get a little model of Emo.
That's on the demo reel, isn't it? You're going to put that into your demo reel, that one.
Well, do you think he could hear you, but he was doing a bit of a Kimi Räikkönen
answer? No, you just need the question.
I reckon he could hear you, like just clear as day, but he was just having none of it. Poor interview technique. He was like, if I don't flinch, he won't know.
Well, he's got another race coming up, don't forget, because they have the reverse grid, which should be super exciting, trying to watch Jensen and Magnussen not only battle themselves from the back row, but also trying to get through traffic at the same time if they can survive. It seems like there's still a lot of turn 1 carnage within the Legends race in itself. Super fun, but something I'm looking forward to. JV is going to be nearer to the front, given that he didn't quite get off the line nearly as well this week.
Yeah. I can't wait for the Legends race. That first one was so good, and we've got the same 2 that set the pace starting right at the back. There'll be chaos at the front, and I actually hope this time that Button and Magnussen can avoid the chaos, see how they can charge their way through the field.
I also want to point out, just from a sim kind of nostalgic, how we get to use different cars. The downshift on that car sounds amazing. Even in this sim, even in our Factor 2, that McLaren M23 just sounds so good.
The kind of car where I'd be going into the mod files and just like copy pasting those sound files into every car that I'm driving, because it just sounds so cool. That's my favorite thing to do with, like, you're racing a little Formula Renault or something, but you want it to sound proper, so you copy and paste a V12 engine sound in. That's how cool I am.
You're a sad little man. Maybe a bit harsh.
And welcome back to the Race All-Star Series, fully charged by Rocket Phones. We are ready to get into what is arguably the most talented field of the day, despite that perhaps they aren't as known to some of you at home. These are the pro sim drivers, the world's fastest. In fact, literally the world's fastest gamers. We'll have Rudy Van Buren, who's absolutely someone we have to watch today, who won season 1. And we've got to look at his head-to-head, because he last week didn't quite get... He did get through the qualifier, which is a little better than Siggy did, but didn't quite get the points. Siggy, meanwhile, Bono Huis. These guys are easily showcased. As I say, Siggy didn't make it through the qualifier. Huis barely did, and he got away with second place in the final. So very different championship picture between these two.
Yeah, absolutely. Real surprise, Kevin Siggy, last time out, because he was so dominant in the previous week at NOLA that he put it all together, was hugely impressive and got the job done. So to come out with no points after last week was a real big surprise, I have to say.
Yeah, and I think qualifying is underway. As we said, this could be the most important aspect. There's no last chance qualifier. You said it, I'll repeat it. They have to succeed, which means getting a good grid position. We'll see who can find pole position.
Okay, so here's Risto Capit down into turn 1. 3 minutes left on the clock. As many laps as you can get in. So because it's a shorter lap here, we're seeing drivers get at least 2 flying laps in, sometimes maybe 3, because a good lap here is going to be well, sub 1 minute, basically. So Risto Capit out on circuit. When they all come across the line, we will see more and more of them. Jenson Button enjoyed his run. He's already tweeting left, right, and centre about so many links to the fights and the battles. We've got 2.5 minutes. Here we go then. Erhan Yayovsky, winner last time out, is at the top of the times at the moment. Kevin Siggy is second. Wisniewski is third. Bono Huis fourth. Rudy Van Buren is fifth. And if you want to hear more from Rudy Van Buren, download the Race Esports podcast, available from all good podcasting places. And yeah, you can hear from Rudy Van Buren. There's Michael Romanides, who is in a recent joiner of the Williams Formula One esports team. He's down in 13th place at the moment. Here comes Matthew Williams out across the line. Baldy goes up into 7th place. Matthew Williams goes up into 13th place, but it's still Yayovsky who's at the top of the times at the moment. No one really surprising, missing out at the moment. Although Terzic actually was pole man last time, wasn't he?
He was, and he should have made the final, but he got that DQ for jumping the start. Williams goes very wide that time and won't improve. It's pretty much all the big guns out front. Van Buren 5th is right on the cusp of actually being through right now, and a few of them greying out. I think they're coming through the pits because Yayovsky and Van Buren both did about a minute ago as well. So different tactics going on, but really, Yuri Kasdorp's maybe a little bit down in 8th. He's been a regular in the final the last couple of weeks, but apart from that, it's the big guns pulling through.
Yeah, absolutely. Yayovsky, Siggy, Wisniewski, Huis, and Van Buren, the top 5. Von Buren, sorry, the top 5. Although I say that, Brzezinski goes up into 5th place. The top 5 advance through to the final. This is obviously only qualifying at the moment. We've got 55 seconds left on the clock. Here comes Erhan Yayovsky. He's up on his previous best time. So can he get into the low 45s here? Maybe a 45-1 with this lap. Yayovsky cuts the timing beam and doesn't improve. A 45.336 still. Here comes Nikodem Wisniewski down through the final corner. These are the top sim racers on the planet going head-to-head in qualifying at Lime Rock, and Wisniewski goes into 2nd place, gets ahead of Kevin Siggy, and is just 300ths away from Yayovsky. I think we've seen them go into the pits because they've decided that the tyres, they get too much taken out of them to just do like 3-4 laps. So if you come back into the pits, new set of boots on, and then you can get a better run. Whereas Silverstone, I suppose, this is my working theory, feels like it might be less harsh on the tyres than this circuit with lots of long sweeping corners. There's my theory.
Yeah, I like the theory. It's such a short lap as well. They got a chance to basically do out one flyer, back in the pits, one flyer again, like a Q3 basically. And Yayovsky not quite improving. Wisniewski managing to jump up to 2nd.
But it is Erhan Yayovsky who will start on pole position, the winner from last time out. Therefore, the championship leader. He's going to be starting on pole position for this sim race around, or sim driver race around Lime Rock. Nikodem Wisniewski alongside him on the front row of the grid. Kevin Siggy is in 3rd position. That's obviously the old grid from the All-Star Series race, or the old results, I should say, with Max Gunter winning earlier on. And we are getting ready to go. There are the cars joining the grid. This is going to be a busy one. It's all or nothing for these sim racers. Top 5 or time to go home, or well, time to turn off your computer and stay home as we get ready to go. Yuki on pole there in the lime green car. They're on the front row of the grid, ready to go. There's the view from the front of the 2nd place car. Here come the lights. Wisniewski second, Siggy third, Kuis fourth. Yajowski on the inset, bottom left. Revs rise. Race is underway. Great start from Yajowski. Good start as well from third place. Kevin Siggy, he might be able to jump Wisniewski on the run down to turn one, and he has. So Yajowski leads, Siggy second, Wisniewski in third spot. It's side by side between Kuis and Brzezinski for fourth position, and I think Bono Kuis has just about managed to get it. Then it's side by side between Brzezinski and Rudy Van Buren. And Van Buren is in sixth position. Someone's gone off big time. I think that's Pinto. I think Nuno Pinto's just had a big off further back. But Yajowski, Siggy, Wisniewski, Kuis, Brzezinski, the top five. There's Bono Kuis in the inset, bottom left. Rudy Van Buren just outside the top five in sixth position.
Nice start from Siggy, third to second, but really great start from Yajowski. We've seen the last two races the pole man lose out. This time Erhan Yajowski doing everything right, and he leads lap one by nearly a full second already over Kevin Siggy. That's a huge job done for him to get into the top five. Bit of a shunt in the background there. Didn't see who was in that. I think it was Greco and Williams potentially getting caught up. I'm looking at Van Buren now. Rudy Van Buren, sixth place. He needs to find a place. He's been so quick every weekend, but right now he won't be in the final.
This is the replay of the wheel banging earlier on, and there around went Pinto, and he dropped massively down the order. And now we'll have to recover and try and climb back up the order, but up into fifth place is going to be tough. Yajowski 1.2 seconds in the lead of Siggy. Wisniewski third, Kuis fourth, Brzezinski fifth. And that is Bono Kuis in the white car. Just having a bit of a twitch actually, and Brzezinski is right behind him as they come down towards turn one. No moves being made just yet.
I think it's Van Buren. That's Van Buren in the lead white car in sixth place, with Baldi just behind. And it's the red car of Brzezinski in fifth. And that's what Van Buren's going to be gunning for. He needs to be in the top five. There's no last chance qualifier. And with championship points now at stake, he already missed out on a few last time out. He doesn't make the final here. He's having a shocker. So Van Buren, who was probably the favourite or one of the favourites coming in, needs to make an overtake.
There is Rudy Van Buren in sixth place and in the bottom left. Dropping down into the final corner, lap 3 of 11. Out onto the start-finish straight again. Yajowski leading, Siggy, Wisniewski, Kuis and Brzezinski, the top five, but it is Kuba Brzezinski in the red car under pressure. White and blue machine of Rudy Van Buren. Just a little bit too far away though, isn't he? And he's not exactly putting huge pressure on Kuba Brzezinski at the moment.
It's back to the old classic. Push your rival into a mistake right now, but Brzezinski, I mean, these sim racers, they're more used to this. They're more used to feeling the nuances of the car squirming underneath them and even bumping over there, over the curbs, the grass. They're more used to it. They're less prone to mistakes, to be honest. So Van Buren is in for a tougher job. He's within 4/10 of Brzezinski, but catching is one thing, passing is another.
Across the line to start lap 5 of 11. There's Gergo Baldi in 7th place with Yuri Kastor behind in 8th, but all of a sudden, Rudy Van Buren, after this time a lap ago not being that close, has got the gap really down to just a couple of tenths of a second. And Brzezinski's the one here in trouble. The top 4 look fairly comfortable. Okay, we're on lap 5 of 11, still half the race still to go. But the top 4 are looking comfortable. It's Kuba Brzezinski who now is starting to drive looking in his mirrors more than in front, you fear, as he comes under the ABK bridge and down through the right-hander and out across the line.
Yeah, only in the mirrors now for Brzezinski. Wisniewski and Kuis ahead are now 2 seconds clear. Kuis in 4th, 2 seconds ahead of Brzezinski in 5th, who has his mirrors full of the white car of Rudy Van Buren. If there's one guy you don't want behind you right now, it's probably Van Buren. He's made some great overtakes so far. He's been about the pace man when you average it across the 5 race weekends we've had so far. And now he needs to get this place from Brzezinski to make it into the final, where there will be points. This is critical for Van Buren, but we've seen overtaking's tricky. He's got to make it stick. 3 tenths away is nothing. Huge pressure on Brzezinski, but for now, he holds firm.
Gergo Baldi lurking in 7th position at the moment there in the white-green machine. Out onto the start-finish straight again. Lap 7 of 11 to begin. Van Buren, so he's just got to, as you say, he's got to be aggressive. He's got to go for it, hasn't he? Because otherwise it's pointless. He's not going to win. I think he's already an outsider for the championship and the series, considering he didn't pick up many points in the first round. But here now, you know, 2 no finals made, and he's in big trouble. There's a huge moment there for Yuri Kastrop, almost losing out now to Jene Simoncic. Remember Simoncic, who won the first ever the race event we had? But here's Rudy Van Buren now, right up behind, as they come down under the ABK beer sign and down in towards turn 1.
Frustration starting to build. I think he's slightly closer this time than he has been to, but still probably not close enough as they head down to turn 1. Not a huge braking zone down at turn 1, and that's what you need basically to do a lunge. When there's a short braking zone, a lunge is just sometimes suicidal. You're only going to wipe out your rival and end up in the gravel and hand it all to Baldi just in 7th place, who's just watching, hoping that Van Buren gets red mist and has an attempt.
Chicane and up the hill again. Van Buren all over the curbs. Still nothing he can do. He's managed to gap Baldi behind a little, so that's one positive for Rudy Van Buren, is that he doesn't need to have to keep his eyes on the mirrors quite so much across the line. The gap is just 0.3 of a second down into turn 1.
Look how close he is, hugging the apex down at turn 1. Slightly different line, things out to try and, if not unsettle Brzezinski, just find a little bit of time behind him, because what he has been doing hasn't been working. That won't work. Ran a little bit wide coming out of turn 4, and look, the gap just opens up to Brzezinski. Really frustrating for Van Buren, and this will allow Brzezinski off the hook 0.6, and that's going to mean he can breathe a slight sigh of relief for this lap at least. There's only 2 more after this that Van Buren's going to have a chance.
Yayovsky, the race leader, second, Wisniewski third, Kuijs fourth, Brzezinski fifth for the time being. Yayovsky, a finalist of the world's fastest gamer, which the 3rd iteration is getting underway. Download Gear Club on iOS or Android to get involved in that. We're on lap 10 of 11. The top 5 will advance straight through to the final. Van Buren, although he dropped back, has got back down to sort of half a second adrift of Kuba, Brzezinski in 5th, but I just don't think it's quite going to be enough. Look at the concentration though in the bottom left. I think that's Yuri Kastrop that we're looking at as he runs in 8th place up over the crest of the hill. Yayovsky's lead though is 2.1 seconds over Kevin Siggy. It's absolutely huge as he starts the final lap. Simoncic on the grass through the final corner they come, and Van Buren still 0.6 away from Brzezinski. It's not going to be enough.
No. Not probably at this rate. Kastrop looks livid. He looks like he's about to hit a punch up in the bottom left. Just gritting his teeth and grimacing with every moment. He's also stuck behind Baldi in 7th, and he is pretty sure now that he won't be through to the final. This is the last battle then. Brzezinski and Van Buren, 0.3 between them. Half a lap to go. Surely he's not going to be able to do it.
Oh, he's bouncing over the curbs, isn't he? Here's Yayovsky through the final corner. What a rich vein of form Yayovsky is hitting at just the right time. He comes across the line, books himself a place in the final with the win. So does Kevin Siggy, Nikodem Wisniewski, Bono, and it's going to be Kuba Brzezinski, is it? He's just in front of Rudy Van Buren, 0.2 of a second between them at the line. But for the second race in a row, the second week in a row, Rudy Van Buren doesn't make it through to the final of the race All-Star Series, fully powered by Rocket phones. Wow, big surprise there for Van Buren, and he'll be so frustrated with that. And we'll see what he does next week, but that's the end of his racing here. This was the guy who was running right at the front, collided with Dennis Lind in the final last week when he made it through to the final, but you know, had that collision and dropped out the order and didn't score a huge amount of points. But Yayovsky, a great drive. Kevin Siggy in 2nd place. Nikodem Wisniewski 3rd. Bono Kuijs 4th. Kuba Brzezinski 5th. Those are the 5 that will advance through to the final, as they very politely return to the pit lane. No messing around, which is nice to see. Very respectfully do their cooling in laps. Cooling in laps? What do I mean? Return to the
cool
pit.
down laps.
Cool down
yeah,
laps.
yeah, cool down laps. Picking up rubber, saving fuel, all the procedures, exemplary from the sim drivers.
So Erhan Yuyovsky takes the win. Kevin Siggy second. Nikodem Wisniewski in third position. Rudy Van Buren, though, missing out on advancing through to the final. That's the big story of that race, you have to say. Everybody else, pretty much, who you would have expected to go through and battle it out for the 35 points for the race winner, which will be coming up in the grand final a little bit later on. We've also got the reverse grid race for the Legends drivers, which is going to be spectacular. We've got the Jones Soda last chance qualifier too, so still plenty more racing to come here on the Race All-Star Series.
Well, yeah, you said it, Jack. Rudy's redemption, perhaps not even getting off the ground and not even onto a run. We said there was going to be big names every single time. We'll get to that in a minute. We've got our reverse grid Legends race coming up. Now maybe, Jack, you'll get the demo reel first interview with Fittipaldi. I know you've been waiting for this the whole time.
Okay, Emerson, can you hear us? How are you doing?
Looking good now.
Okay, great. How was your first race?
Disaster. I have to do a lot. Not easy.
Yeah.
I had a good start. I tried to be careful, but there was so many people spinning, crashing, and I think the biggest difference, the Legends were overdriving like M1 and 2 compared to the pro guys. You know, I see too many accidents in the corner 1, corner 2. It's difficult.
How are you enjoying this sim racing thing? Because you started quite, a few weeks ago. Are you still having fun?
I have a lot of fun. I still need to get the perception what I see on the screen to go to my brain to react and see the reaction.
Yeah. Well, what can you do in the last week? You started the final or the second race quite high up, and you were sort of 5th or 6th for quite a long time. You were good last week. Okay, great. Thank you very much for talking to us, Emerson. Yeah, so there we go. Thank you very much, Emerson. Catch you later. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, Matt, don't think that one's going on my show reel.
Hey, you know what? I liked it. I think there was the best bit of information is and you kind of hear what he was saying. It's hard to get the perception. It's hard to understand it. And I touched on this with Felix Rosenquist saying, if you drive with your eyes, if you're a visual driver, sim's easier to pick up, but I shouldn't say there's no feel. The force feedback's great, but there's not as much feel and your butt's not moving. You're not getting G-forces. Speed perception's difficult. So it is a tough thing to pick up and get into. And you can see that, some of the guys that are more versed with it, the younger generation, even of the real racers, seem to be a little quicker off the hop.
So are you saying some racing drivers, Palmer, feel free to comment on this, drive with their eyes more than their feel? Is that sort of what Felix was suggesting?
No, I think it's the other way around. I think the racing, maybe it's different for different people, but I think the racing drivers are more used to feeling things through their body. The sim drivers will be driving more with their eyes and maybe through their hands, the force feedback. Whereas the real drivers, the pros, will be feeling all the G-force through their body when they're going through the corners, the curbing. That's where it's not just about looking with your eyes. So maybe it's different approaches for different people, but certainly for me, yeah, I think that's the big difference between sim racing and real track. You feel so much more through your body.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget, if you want all kinds of this stuff, the podcast with Jack, some of the interviews I did with Rosenquist where we touched on this, subscribe down below first and foremost to this YouTube, but then head over to @WeAreTheRace on both Twitter and Instagram. And if anyone has any questions, because we've done a lot of talk about sim, feel free to hit us up, any of us, me especially. I'll help you guys get involved. I will absolutely love to get you guys into the sport because it's fantastic and we'd love to have you. And welcome back to the Race All-Star Series, fully charged by Rocket Phones. Rudy's redemption comes to a short run. He's out already. Heartbreak, but we still have our last chance qualifier. And rather than that, we've also got our reverse grid Legends race. We've got tons of action still to come with both Jack and Julian. And I think so far it's been a pretty solid day, but Lime Rock's proven to be pretty challenging so far.
It's overtaking, really, isn't it? I mean, the track looks great in the same way that Monaco is great. You know, these places that to drive them really flowing. It's Alton Park from the UK. You know, I don't know my American tracks as well as I know my British tracks. Alton Park, picturesque, lovely, small margin for error. Cadwell Park even more. Overtaking is very difficult. Brilliant track to drive, overtaking difficult, and that is what we've got right now here.
I think that's true of a lot of the old and narrow tracks. You know, they're drivers' tracks, but the racing becomes difficult to manage at times, and that's why qualifying is so important. And qualifying for the finals, we've got the Jones Soda Last Chance qualifier, and qualifying is literally underway. If that qualifies for a throw, Jack and Julian, I'll send it over to you.
Thank you, Matt. I think that definitely qualifies as a throw for the qualifying for the last chance qualifier.
Here we go.
4 minutes left on the clock.
The Jones Soda last chance qualifier featuring no Ed Jones.
Oh yeah, but featuring plenty of soda.
If you qualify.
Yeah. So here's Devlin DeFrancesco making his way around in fourth position at the moment. No one's set a lap time as of yet as he comes around through the final corner. And a good first sector here though, Devlin DeFrancesco. We'll see what he can do across the line. And it's third place then. It's Bradley Smith who's quickest on a 46.186. Harry Newey slots into second place just ahead of Gabby Chaves. Maxime Martin into sixth position, but Bradley Smith there on top of the times at the moment.
Who's going to do it then? Who's our last chance qualifier going to be for pole? I'm saying Gutierrez.
I'm going Harry Newey. I think we haven't seen much of Harry Newey yet. I think this is his first race, isn't it, that he's actually competed in. So I think he's a dark horse. I'm going Harry Newey.
The random element of Newey coming from 0 to here. To be fair, Gabby Chaves this time was more towards the 0, became a hero. As I say that, he goes to the top of the times. Gabby Chaves, who we've all forgotten about, despite finishing 5th and best of the pro drivers last week.
But look who just went second. Oh,
Esteban Gutiérrez. There we go.
Before then, it was Harry Newey. Before then, it was Harry Newey.
You teed me up perfectly with that. Gutiérrez second, ahead of Newey in third.
So we have got 2 minutes left on the clock. Gabby Chaves, Gutierrez, Newey, Smith, Pull, the DeFrancescos, Ben Yahia, Adam and Maxime Martin completing the top 10. Archie Hamilton in 11th place. Sean Galal 13th. Sebastian Montoya 13th. 14th for Headley, 15th for Plowman. Here comes Bradley Smith across the line. Can he improve? 4th at the moment. Second. Look at that. The top 4 separated by less than a 10th.
Still 100 seconds to go before the checker flag. Minute 40, and Gabby Chaves holds on. 4 within a 10. James Poole not out of this either, within 10th and a half. The field once again so close. Qualifying so crucial. This is going to be a very important final lap for everyone now emerging onto it. Here's Gabby Chaves.
So, Chaves.
That was a niche line, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe he's, I don't know. Is he on a cool-down run or some such? Here comes Bradley Smith through the final corner. A minute left on the clock. He's done a good middle sector here, Bradley Smith. Can he get back to the top of the times?
No. By a 10th of a second shy of Gabby Chaves on that attempt there for Bradley Smith. But he's got another chance. He's got another chance in the last chance qualifying. Bradley Smith not done yet. 200ths away from Chaves. Gutierrez still third. DeFrancesco fourth now, ahead of Harry Newey, who drops down to 5th. So close. James Poole might still have something to say about it.
Chaves back in the pits. Smith back in the pits. Here comes James Poole in 6th position. 23 seconds left on the clock. Gutierrez, DeFrancesco, Newey all still out there. The top 5 separated by less than a 10th. Poole gets out wide. I don't think this is going to be enough. Here he comes across the line. And he remains in 6th position. No improvement there.
So close, though, isn't it? So close.
That's mad. 2 tenths down to 10th. Like, this is the closeness that the sim racers were doing, you know?
Yeah, without the absolute pace, but the field spread and the professionalism every week is getting better and better and better. The standard of driving is all concertinaing up. The best pro drivers think they can get amongst the sim drivers now. The more average pro drivers are getting towards the best pro drivers. So it's all closing up, and we've seen a very tight qualifying.
So it's time for the Jones Soda last chance qualifier. The last opportunity for 5 real-world racers to get through into the final. Chaves on pole, Bradley Smith alongside him, Esteban Gutiérrez 3rd, DeFrancesco 4th, Harry Newey in 5th. And there is Gabby Chaves on pole position. And there you can see him in the inset in the bottom left. Can he hold the lead down into the first corner? The rear view from Chaves in the top right. Wait to hear the revs rise. Then we know the lights are coming. Everybody in position. Harry Newey at the moment in 5th place. It would be the last of the qualifiers if it finishes how it is now. Chaves grips the wheel. And away he goes. Good start from Chaves. Smith gets away fairly well too. In fact, the best start comes from DeFrancesco down into the first corner. Can he get past Gutiérrez? They're still side by side. They're still side by side for 3rd place. And they're still side by side coming through the left-hander. DeFrancesco and Gutiérrez having a great fight. And in the end, it is DeFrancesco who holds on to 3rd spot. Gutiérrez 4th, James Pull in 5th. And Harry Newey has dropped down into 7th place.
Great move from DeFrancesco, as you say. Gutiérrez started ahead, but got muscled out in a 4-corner move. That remains in the top 5. 4th place for Esteban Gutiérrez, former F1 driver. Chasing down Devlin DeFrancesco. At front, Chaves got a great start ahead of Bradley Smith as well. Chaves' launch off the line was superb, and he was really unchallenged down to turn 1.
Esteban Gutiérrez swinging through the right-hander. He's got Villeneuve here behind him in 5th place, who's 6 tenths ahead of James Pull in 6th position. So that's the drivers that would be just out as it stands. Harry Newey there in 7th, ahead of DeFrancesco in 8th, as Newey tries to close in on Pull and Villeneuve here. And there is Harry Newey in the bottom left. Curtains drawn, appropriately so. See what Harry Newey can do. Chaves is only 4 tenths behind Bradley Smith up at the front as well.
Smith's got past Chaves.
No,
Smith is past Chaves, who was our pole man, who was untroubled in turn 1, and now Smith is 3 tenths ahead. So Chaves must have had a bit of a mistake somewhere. And now Lachlan DeFrancesco has a bit of a lunge on the inside of Newey. That could be tears, but Newey just opens the door and gives him room. And DeFrancesco runs wide on the exit. So Newey there just about getting the measure of Lachlan DeFrancesco. And then we've got a car in the wall behind. That's Sean Galale.
So Galale in trouble, dropping down the order and out of the running. Smith then in the lead. Gabby Chaves in 2nd. DeFrancesco 3rd, Gutiérrez 4th, Villeneuve in 5th. And to be honest, Villeneuve has now got a 2-second margin over James Pull in 6th position. So Villeneuve looking pretty comfortable. Here's a look at the replay of Harry Newey having a little bit of a fight, and that was how Sean Galale ended up in the walls.
I think he pinned it on his own there coming out of turn 3. Lachlan came across it, but I think Galale might have just accelerated with a rear right, touching the grass, lost traction, and round into the wall.
4 of 11. Harry Newey in the bottom left, running in 7th place. Just under a second ahead of Jonny Adam in 8th position. 9th is Tom Ingram. Still Smith leading the way. Chaves in second, DeFrancesco third, Gutiérrez fourth. They're all fairly spread out up at the front, aren't they? There's a yellow flag out there in sector 2, so someone's had a little bit of a moment. Down into turn 1 again. But good to see Harry Newey in the class, because he's done a lot of junior single-seater racing. Stepped up to European Formula 3 a couple of years ago, and a front runner in the British Formula 4 Championship, the BRDC Formula 4 Championship as it was then.
Yeah, finished second. Very quick, Harry Newey, on his day in that BRDC Formula 4. I think it was 2015 that he finished runner-up there. And yeah, he's very quick. Moved up to F3 and now into to sports cars and doing very well. And right here, 7th place. But he has dropped the weight from James Pull in front. So not quite looking like he's going to make the final at this rate.
Lap 6 of 11. Here, running in 5th place, right up behind Esteban Gutiérrez. This is the strongest showing I think we've seen from Michael Benyahier. He's running right up towards the front this time, challenging Esteban Gutiérrez, who has been a front runner in the past. So this is good stuff from Benyahier. As he comes over the crest and into the penultimate right-hander. There you see him in the bottom left. A couple of seats on the go, runs out wide, kicks up a bit of dirt, might be close enough to have a look at Gutiérrez this time around, but got to be careful because, whoa, who was that? I think that was Harry Newey flying off the road at the back. Oh, it's a big one. He's come back across the road and heavily into the wall, and Harry Newey's run is over. That was large.
Yeah, wide coming out of the final corner into the outside wall across, I think, there for Harry Newey. And he was having a good run, good pace, but that big mistake then will rule him out categorically from making the final if it was already looking tough. Here goes Gutiérrez, that's a lunge on the inside of DeFrancesco, and Benyahier cutting the corner completely, passing Gutiérrez there.
Here's a look at the replay coming through the final corner. Newey got well out wide, lost the back end, spiraled across the circuit, and that is a big hit for him. No, but what happened with the battle up at the front? Gutiérrez has dropped down to 6th position in all of that. So Benyahier up into 4th, James Pull in 5th now, Esteban Gutiérrez in 6th, but only 0.6 of a second away from James Pull. Gabby Chaves is right on the back of Bradley Smith now as well. So this has been a bit of a slower brewer. No, not brewer. Yeah, it's like a slow to the boils kind of thing, this race. But it's all kicking off now in the closing stages. Oh, and a mistake from Smith, goes quite wide.
This is close for the race lead. Chaves on the back of Smith and pressure on. I'd love to see a replay of how Gutiérrez dropped from attacking DeFrancesco. Benyahier dropped right over the chicane, and somehow Gutiérrez came down in 6th place. So he's going to lose out right now with only a couple of laps to go. But I think...
What's happened there? Chaves and Smith, they came together in the most bizarre way down at the first corner, and they've dropped down to 5th and 6th positions. Chaves has a bit of a laugh and is saying, what on earth has happened there? DeFrancesco now in the lead, Benyahier 2nd, Pull 3rd, Gutiérrez 4th, Gabby Chaves in 5th. That was very strange down at turn 1.
Was that a lag moment that has just caused Chaves to completely rear-end Smith at turn 1, and they've both just... Chaves basically mounted Smith, and they've both ran wide into the barrier. Chaves chuckles because he's in the top 5, and that's enough. Smith was leading, and is going out now.
Wow. Penultimate lap of the race. DeFrancesco now out in front, 4/10 ahead of Michael Benyahier. Pull, Gutiérrez and Chaves, the drivers that would be coming with him through to the final. Astonishing stuff.
I'll tell you, that's the first time I've seen that sort of accident where cars just appear and one on top of the other all the way to the barrier like that. And yeah, I don't think Smith will be too chuffed because he was looking so comfortable to try and make it through.
Wow. So we have got lap 10 of 11, penultimate lap of the race. DeFrancesco in front, Benyahier, Pull, Gutiérrez, Chaves the top 5, and they've got such a big margin now over Bradley Smith in 6th position that they should surely be booking themselves their place in the final. Across the line they come, down into turn 1 again. And DeFrancesco only half a second ahead of Ben Yahia. It's a close fight, but they're all just going to be super steady now because they don't want to be knocked out when they've all got a chance of getting through to the final. In some of their cases, I think certainly James Pull, pretty sure this will be his first time through to the final.
Yep, I mean, it's been a real race of attrition, hasn't it? Gutierrez dropped from fourth down, but then immediately came back up. We're going to see a late move there. I don't think we are. Is that Ben Yahia going for the lead right at the end?
Here they come, out across the line, and it is DeFrancesco who takes the win. Great drive with Ben Yahia in second, Pull in third, Gutierrez fourth. Gabby Chaves just about makes it into the final, but it is DeFrancesco that wins, Devlin DeFrancesco that wins the Jones Soda last chance qualifier. Well, that was all a little bit bizarre in the end, wasn't it? Because the Chaves and Smith incident kind of wiped them out and wiped Bradley Smith out of a deserved place in the final.
Yeah. You can't say it any other way, really. He somehow got the lead. We didn't manage to see how, but was driving a great race, untroubled, and then kind of got rear-ended from nowhere by Gabby Chaves, who just about manages to hang on to fifth place and can smile about it. But for Smith, bitter disappointment.
So, wow, Devlin DeFrancesco books himself a place in the final, but that was remarkable, that Gabby Chaves and Bradley Smith incident, Matt.
Yeah, and fair play and congrats to Devlin because look, he's been improving each week and finally makes it through. Great to see. I'll get to the point of the leaders crashing off first, but I think Devlin's actually joining us on the phone, so we'll see if we can get his reaction to what happened in front of him.
Yeah, Devlin, all of a sudden you won the Jones Soda last chance qualifiers, sort of out of nowhere. How was that?
Well, to be honest, the speed's actually been better this weekend than it's been through most weekends. The speed actually in the first heat in race one was actually very good. Just an incident on lap one caused us to end up in the LCQ. But the goal, as soon as I entered in the LCQ lobby, was just to make sure, we qualify in the top five and we stay in the top five. The speed ended up to being quite good, and I capitalized when they made a mistake. So happy to be in the final. Right. Thanks to AIS Simulators and everyone who's been helping me out here.
Great. Well, congratulations, Devlin, and good to see you halfway through a Jones soda can there anyway. Oh, he's got loads. You got loads on the go. Well, there you go. The suitable man wins the Jones Soda last chance qualifier, Devlin DeFrancesco. But when we come back, we've got the reverse grid race for the Legends and the Grand Final in the Race All-Star Series.
All right. Well, you asked about the accident in front. I didn't get to hear Devlin's result because obviously the door opened. I call that a garbage goal in hockey. He's a Canadian. He'll understand the reference, but it must have been an issue, a tech issue of some sort in order to cause that incident, because running 1 and 2 in the last chance qualifier, there's really no need to make a move. The goal is to make it to the next race. So I'm very curious what happened there between the two of them.
Yeah, very strange indeed. But now we look forward to our reverse grid Legends race. That must be next up ahead of the Grand Final. I'm buzzing.
Yeah, this is going to be fantastic. I do hope that we get through turn one relatively cleanly. I want to see Jensen and Magnussen charge together through the field, and we had so much focus on them that we didn't even mention guys like Pirro, who's been quick every week, Plato, who's been looking good. Franchitti had a crash in the race, and I think that's true to form, guys, because I saw some footage from practice earlier in the week that is pretty spectacular. I think we've got it here. Jack, you know him well. Maybe you could talk us through this driving technique.
Well, we all know him well enough that this is what he usually does, have massive airborne rolling accidents. I mean, that's classic Franchitti. It reminds me a bit of Andrea De Cesaris having that shunt at the Oostenrijk ring a few years ago in the, was he in a Brabham, I want to say? But yeah, that's a classic Franchitti crash. But this time, he emerges without the injuries he usually gets. So I guess that's one of the positives.
Modern safety is stepped up so much, and I think Dario will be grateful for it.
Absolutely, and of course, this is the reverse grid. The first race where it was qualifying actually had 10K on the line. Jensen nearly got it for 2 weeks in a row. But this week, obviously, it was Jan Magnussen. Now, I'm going to try to pronounce this. It's Bjorn Pramgut. That's way off. But from what I understand, it's a children's hospital in Denmark. So 10K will go to them on behalf of Jan Magnussen and the race for doing this. So very cool to see him coming out. But this one's all for fun. I don't know who else can feature in this that maybe again, there was so much focus on what was the best race, I think, of the entire series that we didn't really see a lot of the other guys.
Yeah, and it was so busy. I think Tony Kanaan got taken out by Max Papis when Papis had already been lapped. That's apparently what happened. And then apparently on the chat, Kanaan went mad swearing at Papis in Italian. So there was a bit of anger there, reportedly, according to my sources, which is Dario. So yeah, it would be fascinating to see them all fight through the order. And I want to see a bit more from Pirro because he's been really busy in fights and all that kind of thing, and we haven't really seen him up at the front since race one, properly fighting it out there. So it's just, you could watch every battle out there and be enthralled and think it's super cool because it's super cool.
Well, and hopefully Petter Solberg gets into this one as well. Unfortunately, we were kind of to blame for him not making it. I wanted to point out, I was getting to it earlier, he's not Canadian, but he had the OMP Canadian version of the glove. I was wondering if there was some significance. I want a set now. Like, I don't even have those. I didn't know those were a thing. Those
What's
are pretty
a Canadian
cool.
version of a glove? What does that mean?
Well, his I don't know if you saw it. He had his race glove on.
There's a boot a lot.
I don't have mine behind me. I thought I did. And then it had on the cuff, it had a Canadian flag, which I thought peculiar for him not being Canadian. But now I want a set.
Maybe it's in tribute to you.
I was wondering that, actually. Yes, for all the times that we've met and talked to each other, I thought that might be the case.
Yeah, I imagine.
Well, we're getting close to that race, of course. It's going to be super exciting. Hopefully it stays clean. That's the biggest battle, I think, for everyone in turn one. We'll see if that is the case. Tons of fun with these cars as well. Well, time to get a little bit backwards as we start the reverse grid of the Legends race in the Race All-Star Series, fully charged by Rocket phones. And this, if anything from the first race to go by, could be equally, if not more exciting, as we have some very fast people at the back charging through a track that doesn't really lend itself to overtaking.
Yeah, I don't think we're in for a pure motor race the way that the Magnussen Button fight in race one was, but I think we're in for a chaotic motor race the way that the Race Legends Trophy events have been. Really excited for this one. No qualifying, of course. It's just a reverse grid. So before too long, we'll be seeing, I presume, Petter Solberg on pole position, I would have thought, because he didn't take part in the last race. So he's got to be up there towards the front. Really excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, and Julian, you said this was reminiscent of '92 in Monaco and was the best race since lockdown, if not ever. I mean, is it possible we see something similar as they try and fight through this field, or is that out of the picture?
I'm expecting more like Monaco 96 now, or maybe Spa 98, more like the chaotic version when you got cars out of position. I mean, the quick guys at the back, it's just a battle of trying to pick your way through the inevitable chaos that will ensue. And then hopefully we can see some pure racing later on, but there's just this is a recipe for chaos early doors. It's all about keeping your nose clean if possible.
Well, if possible. Thankfully, as I said early on, 25% damage, not full damage, which is probably well advised. Jason Plato was someone we didn't mention a whole lot of. We've got a few new debutants as well this week. Antonio Luizzi, we didn't mention him. One of the guys with your helmets behind you, Julian, had the coolest lids, I think, of all time. That one Keller, one side, non-symmetrical, great design. But Plato looked pretty good. I think he came through in sixth after there was some contact that he could take advantage of. Maybe something for him on the reverse?
Possibly. He's a man that knows how to overtake. They have BTCC as well, of course. So he's used to this sort of format. We'll have to see if he can come through. I'm looking forward to seeing what Solberg can do out front. To be honest, we haven't had a rookie debutant on pole since Emanuele Pirro in Silverstone all those races ago.
Yeah, very true. You see Magnussen looking a little less sweaty and a little more composed now. He's calmed down after that first race, so looking forward to getting back into it. Look through some of the other drivers, obviously this being Thiago Monteiro. He's gone for your setup, Julian. He's got the two helmets beside, one kind of out of shot, but they're both there.
That's pretty much exactly mine then, yeah.
Yeah, and then Max Pappas, of course. Max is just a shout out to Max as well with Max Pappas Innovations. He's done a lot of work on steering wheels for V8 supercars and whatnot. I talked to him a little bit on this channel, actually. It's if you go through the videos, I did an interview with him. But one of the cool things is that he actually built a steering wheel for Robert Wickens to use, which has a full hand control. And maybe there's something in that if there's a business for lots of other people in a similar situation that want to get involved in sim racing. I thought that was a great thing for him to do for Wickens. And now we see a few more of the drivers. Obviously, Dario's there, hopefully not repeating what we saw from that practice incident, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. David Brabham, who he ended up in a spin, I think, in the first race. The former Le Mans racer, former Formula One racer. There's Petter Solberg, all set, ready to go as we are about to get underway with the Legends Trophy Reverse Grid race. Looking forward to this a lot.
I just thought I'd point out those gloves where I could, the Canadian flag on them. I do want to know what the significance is, but we'll find out what he can do. Monster livery from the front row. We'll see if he is a monster in this race. Jack, over to you.
Petter Solberg then on pole position. Juan Pablo Montoya alongside him on the front row of the grid for this reverse grid Legends Trophy race in the Race All-Star Series. Fully charged by rocket phones. There we see Petter Solberg in the inset, in the bottom left. On the right-hand side, we're on board with Montoya as we wait for the race to get underway. 13 laps of action about to begin. Wait for the revs to rise. We'll see what Petter Solberg can do. Montoya, as I say, in second place. It's going to be a fascinating fight. We've got the front runners from the first race, Jenson Button and Jan Magnussen, starting right down towards the back of the order. 13 laps in these McLaren M23s about to get underway. Is that a bit of smoke coming from Solberg's car? Maybe he needs to stop revving the engine quite so much. And he's missed the start as well. So Petter Solberg from pole position. Oh, and he's wiped out as well. Absolute carnage right at the start. And it's all over before it even begins for Petter Solberg. There's more cars off down at turn one. Montoya it is who has the lead. Darren Turner up into third place then with Dario Franchitti right behind him, fourth position. Carnage at the start, Julian.
And Jenson Button already up to fifth place as well. Pretty much the back, second last with Magnussen just behind. Magnussen's 15th. Button up to fifth. Franchitti makes it past Darren Turner up to third. Those are the guys probably to watch out for, as well as Juan Pablo Montoya, who has been quick, started basically at the front, especially when Solberg didn't get off the line, and then got involved in the carnage. But I don't think Petter really knew when the race was going, and then when he did start, I don't think he knew a lot about the cars that drove into him either.
No, absolute carnage there on lap 2 of 13. And it is Montoya leading, Liuzzi second, Franchitti third, Turner in fourth position, Button in fifth, Salo sixth, Pirro, and Villeneuve completing the top 10.
Oh, Button's round. He went for a do or die on Darren Turner in the background at turn 4, and I don't think Turner saw him coming and presumably turned in, and that was a bit, I think, ambitious potentially. Turner's right in the wall there at the back. I think that one might have been a bit ambitious looking at the quick shot we got from Button. He was already up to fifth. He didn't need probably to be charging through that quickly on guys that we know he's quicker than, but now still going down in 9th place behind Jacques Villeneuve.
Here's a look at the replay then. Talk us through it, Julian. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he got a better exit, but straight lined it basically for the apex at turn 4, and there's no way Darren Turner would expect that move to be coming, and that's why Darren Turner then ended up in a big old barrel roll all the way to the wall there. But yeah, that one was a bit ambitious there, I think, from Jenson. He's probably just frustrated after the whole last race not being able to overtake Jan Magnussen. This time he went straight for a move. And that was a bit the Button move on Pascal Wehrlein in Monaco 2017, I'd say.
Very precise recollection, indeed. Juan Pablo Montoya leading the way, then Tonio Liuzzi second, Dario Franchitti third, Mika Salo fourth, Emanuele Pirro is in fifth place ahead of Prio, Plato, Button, Villeneuve and Montero, the rest of the top 10. And there is Juan Pablo Montoya putting a lap on someone already who's been in the wars, but good drive this from Juan Pablo. He qualified well in Silverstone, but haven't seen him running quite towards the front, and he's got his actual helmet as well, which is really cool to see.
Yeah, I quite like Montoya's helmet as well. It's quite funky livery, isn't it? But he's always been quick. That's the thing with Juan Pablo. I don't think he's had a win yet, but he's always been there or thereabouts in the top 3. And to be honest, the fact that he was starting right at the front was kind of, I don't know how he ended up there after the chaos of the first race, but he was always going to be a bit of a favourite amongst those others that struggled in the first race, given his relative performance. Right now, 4 seconds ahead of Antonio Liuzzi. Franchitti needs to try and clear Liuzzi, and then we might have a fight on our hands at the front.
Button's got ahead of Mika Salo and up into 7th place. What's this replay of here? Is that Petter? Oh, that's Petter Solberg with a big spin down at the chicane, and someone else is having a moment in there too.
Here's Franchitti. This is the move for second place then, on the back of Liuzzi. He's having a good drive, keeping it nice and calm in the orange car. As I say that, I think he's gone off straight into the wall at the final corner. And that's the end of Liuzzi's solid, quiet, consistent drive as he plunges down the order. Plato's up to 5th, behind Andy Prio. Touring car rivalries going to be renewed there in 4th and 5th, Prio and Plato. But Franchitti now up into 2nd, and can he catch Montoya? He needs, about just over half a second a lap to get there by the end of the race.
Well, it's going to be a big ask. Franchitti running in 2nd place at the moment, swinging through the right-hander at the chicane and almost not bothering at all with that part of it. Antonio Liuzzi has emerged back in 7th position, so still in the fight at the moment, Antonio Liuzzi. But he's got a long way to go. And there is Jenson Button right up behind Jason Plato. Jan Magnussen won the first race. Let's see if Button can get past Plato in the way he couldn't before. Button to the inside, up the inside of Jason Plato, and that is now 5th place.
I haven't seen Jason Plato race this fairly and this cleanly since probably his Vauxhall Junior days, I don't think. That was a very nice move that Jenson Button put on him, but Plato with no real defence. And I thought that might be a tricky one for him, the touring car veteran. But no, Button through up into 5th, and now he's got the other touring car veteran of Andy Prio just ahead. Oh, Button to the inside, and that's both of them off then at the final corner. And Button then just lunging to the inside. I think Prio was maybe a bit wide, a bit slow coming through. And Button's back in the wars. Prio is continuing, but with a lot of damage to the front end there. So that's Plato up into 4th, and Button once again on the comeback trail, but finding trouble. Here's Jan Magnussen, 7th place for him. He's quietly making his way through the pack as well. Started, of course, absolutely plumb last. Jan Magnussen, and what's he got? He's got about 3 seconds to Mika Salo, who's ahead in 6th, and then Liuzzi, who's recovering from his own moment when he crashed at the final corner. There's been a real race of chaos. Montoya still leads 5 seconds, though, to Franchitti. That gap has actually gone up since Franchitti got into 2nd place, so Montoya is showing great pace.
This is a really good drive from Juan Pablo Montoya, and he is 5.3 seconds, as you say, ahead of Dario Franchitti. Emanuele Pirro in 3rd, Jason Plato in 4th on his debut, and running at a reasonable pace. You know, he's keeping ahead of Liuzzi for the time being. We'll see whether Liuzzi can close back in. It's a shame for Tonio, because he was running pretty strongly up in that 2nd place until he seemed to just drive straight on, basically, at the final corner. But here's Juan Montoya across the line to start lap 10 of 13.
Night time in the Montoya household, I think. He got his son watching in the corner as well? Or am I seeing things? The darkness, but he's doing a great job in his blue and yellow Tyrrell 89 livery. That's seeing him 5.5 seconds clear of Franchitti right now, and fairly untroubled, and looking set for a first win right now.
Montoya up over the crest. Franchitti 2nd, Pirro 3rd, Plato 4th, Liuzzi 5th, Salo. Magnussen's got up into 7th place then, having started at the back of the order and presumably been a bit more affected by the opening lap chaos than Jenson Button was. Here's Pirro, though, right behind Dario Franchitti. So this is the battle for second place. Emanuele Pirro trying to challenge Franchitti.
Yeah, Franchitti's been chillaxing the last couple of laps. He made his way up into second place, but has since lost a good 2 seconds to Montoya, and now Pirro has caught him. So Franchitti under pressure. This is for second place, and they've got a huge gap of 12 seconds back to Liuzzi now, who's in fourth. Plato's gone walkies. He's down to seventh again, so mistake from Plato somewhere. But here we go, battle for second.
Up over the crest, coming through to start the penultimate lap of the race here, so Emanuele Pirro needs to make the move soon if he wants to get ahead of Franchitti. Under the ABK Beer Bridge, down into the right-hander. Magnussen has just got past Tonio Liuzzi. Liuzzi's dropping down the order, but this is the battle for second. Penultimate lap of the race, the last time into turn one. Liuzzi told me the other day he would have disqualified himself if he had been a race steward at NOLA a couple of weeks ago. Oh, Franchitti goes for the bold move to the inside, trying to get past the back marker, and that is just about worked out for him, and it has not worked out for Emanuele Pirro. That is really good work from Franchitti. He wasn't hanging around and losing time behind back markers there, was he?
No, not at all. And that was it Max Papis they were coming through to lap, and now finally Pirro I think is through as well. But look at that, Franchitti there scything his way through has just opened up a nice nearly 2 seconds to Pirro, and all in one instinctive overtake. Good stuff.
Juan Pablo Montoya, though, starts the final lap in the Legends Trophy reverse grid race here in the Race All-Star Series, fully charged by rocket phones around the Lime Rock race circuit in the United States of America. And Montoya is on the final lap. He's way up the road from Dario Franchitti in second. He did start in second place for this reverse grid after struggling in race one. Pirro in third, Mika Salo in fourth. That's going to be some consistent running, actually, from Mika Salo. Jan Magnussen in fifth. But here's Juan Pablo Montoya through the final corner, and he takes victory in the reverse grid Legends Trophy race. Across the line, Montoya victorious. And immediately, headset off, job done. He's off out. Dario Franchitti across the line in second. Emanuele Pirro in third position. Less chaotic than the first race, that one. Well, that's not actually true. Less intense than the first race, let's say. Montoya winning, Franchitti second, Pirro third, Salo fourth, Jan Magnussen in fifth spot after Magnussen won the first race and donated his $10,000 to a children's hospital in Denmark that he got for winning the race. No prize money for this one, as it's the reverse grid, but a great performance from Juan Pablo Montoya. Franchitti second, Pirro in third place. Driver of the race in that one, that's a tricky one, Julian.
Not really to me. I think it's got to be Montoya, hasn't it? From pole to win, but with good pace. I mean, uneventful for him, but great pace. One wonders if one would have won if he'd done well in race one.
Very good. Very good. That's a reference to an Australian Grand Prix press conference from, I don't know, 2002, 3. And you can find that on the YouTube if you want. Have a little Google of that. So let's speak to the race winner, Juan Pablo Montoya. Juan, congratulations. Good race. Not too many fights in the end.
It was good. It's been tough. You know, every race I struggled in qualifying. I got a penalty in qualifying because I left the pits too early, and I got a 10-second penalty. I didn't get to qualify that well, and I got untangled. The problem is when you're in mid-pack, to make it out is so difficult. It was nice, you know what I mean? And these guys have put a hell of a show, and it was nice actually to complete a race without any major incidents.
Yeah, you've always been involved in something over the last 5 weeks. You still enjoying it though?
Oh, I love it. It's a lot of fun. It's frustrating as hell because we're way too competitive. So we all get moody. You should see my wife. My wife is not happy with me when I don't do well.
Okay, well, congratulations, Juan Pablo. See you next week.
All right, thank you.
Cheers. So there we go. Juan Pablo Montoya, moody as hell. Hashtag breaking news. But that's nearly all. But when we come back, we've just got the grand final of the race All-Star Series, fully charged by rocket phones. The final is coming up in just a couple of minutes' time.
I do love that he says they get intense and emotional and competitive. I think it's overdue to have Montoya on the top step of the podium. There was an event that was sort of, I want to say, end of November, maybe early December in Miami, and I think it was called Miami's Fastest Gamer. It was a spinoff of the World's Fastest Gamer. Had Juan, who was, Juan Pablo, who was part of the judging panel there. I was going to say Jan Maddenborough. He actually wasn't at this one. He was one of the other judges, but Rudy Van Buren. And all these guys, these top sim guys, and they put them on a sim they weren't as familiar with. And interesting enough, Juan Pablo actually beat them all and won that particular race. So he's pretty capable in a sim, but like he says, he just hasn't got to put it together so far in this series.
He did the first week, didn't he, as a regular driver before the Legends race came in, and he was quite solid, to be honest. So it's the same with the final, the pro drivers, the sim drivers, the Legends. The standard's getting better and better as well. And Montoya was right up there. He still is, but it's just Magnussen's upped his game. Button's clearly come in and is very quick as well. And everyone else is striving for that bit of perfection.
Yeah, that's a really good point. He was looking set for a sort of podium finish, I think, wasn't he, in Indianapolis at one of the first races. And we were all sort of willing him on because he was up against these sort of youngsters. He created the Legends race category, I would say.
It was the last chance qualifier. Montoya in Indianapolis was right at the sharp end, and then he got binned by someone who would have been cussed.
Nuno Pinto.
Doubt. I don't. Nuno Pinto.
No, he'd have been the sim ones, wouldn't he?
I think he would have had his own.
You're thinking Nuno Pinto, yeah. That was the reference I think you were looking for. Just to mention as well, I mean, Juan Pablo is heavily involved in the back end of sim stuff. Obviously, he was a judge for World's Fastest Gamer 2. No word officially if he'll be involved with the third iteration or not, but it's open for qualifying. You guys touched on that during the race. You can download Gear Club. That qualification's already started. Riley, Smiley Riley, won that last year and did a heck of a job in the real car in the actual competition, is currently leading the timetables again. So go see if you can beat him. But I mean, what a chance would that be if you were to qualify for World's Fastest Gamer 3 and you get Juan Pablo Montoya there. And I was there, and I can tell you, he didn't just show up for the PR. He was coaching those guys. He was hard on them. He took an M3 out when we were at a track in California and absolutely slayed the tires on it, having fun with them and hooning it. I got to do about 6 laps with them drifting, and it was unreal. So, I mean, what an experience that would be if you were to qualify through any of the games, but specifically Gear Club, as it's already started.
Yeah, that would be up there with my top passenger rides, actually. Juan Pablo Montoya in like a rear-wheel drive BMW would be pretty cool. I have had a passenger ride in a front-wheel drive Renault Clio around Bedford Autodrome from a Formula One driver, but I think Montoya in a around California would be cooler.
Man, he left the pits and he was showing the competitors how to drive proper and how to use throttle and how steering and throttle are connected, and he was being well behaved. And then I went out with him and he looked at me and goes, "So what are you doing here?" And I went, "I don't know, I'm just here with you." And before we even left the pits, he was full sideways, opposite lock, slamming it around. It was unreal. It was super cool.
Montoya, for me, he's one of the fastest, most naturally talented Formula One drivers that has maybe ever driven. So quick. But I can't believe that Nichols is just like that. I gave him such a hot lap in a Renault Clio.
Oh, it was you. Wow.
Look. It was great. It's like it was nothing to you.
No, I said it was great. It meant the world to me, Julian.
You're not the only F1 driver to have a Clio. I think Lando had one last season. So there you go. Legendary car in that way. We'll see who comes out on top here as we get into it. Time for the big one. The race All-Star Series, fully charged by rocket phones, is about to get into the grand finale. It was a controversial one in week 1. Rudy Van Buren and Dennis Lind tangled and tripped over each other at Sebring. Rudy Van Buren didn't make it through the qualifier this time, which is a ridiculously large story. And Aaron Yarofsky looks like the man to beat. He could go for 2 for 2. Guys, this is getting pretty serious now that the championship points are on the line. Jack, I think we've already got some heartbreak, but we've got some big stories to get to.
Yeah, this is really, really going to be big. Erhan Yarofsky, as you say, won the race last time out. Here he is starting his qualifying run this time through, and we'll see what kind of lap time he can do, because it was incredibly impressive from him 1 week ago. He won his qualification race here today, so he has to go into this one, Julian, as favourite, surely.
Is that where your money's at? Erhan Yarofsky, this man.
I think, yeah, it's got. You know me, I picked the favourite.
Yeah, I'm going Kevin Siggy. I'm backing Siggy to make a big comeback after the disappointment of last week.
Okay, here comes Yarofsky in the first sector. He's a tenth of a second up. Wisniewski is quickest at the moment, 300ths ahead of Kevin Siggy. Kuba Brzezinski's in third. Bono Huis fourth. Max Gunter 0.3 of a second away from Wisniewski at the moment. Then it's a good lap from Kevin Hansen in sixth place. Gutierrez seventh. Yeah, in eighth. Lachlan DeFrancesco, the rest of the top 10 at the moment. But here comes the first lap from Erhan Yarofsky. Where does it put him? Provisional pole. Oh no, not for long. Wisniewski comes back across the line and immediately goes 0.2 quicker than Yarofsky. Siggy fourth. Dennis Lind up into fourth now. Mike Epps into fifth position, just ahead of Bono Huis. Kuba Brzezinski drops down to eighth place, so it's Nikodem Wisniewski who's at the moment on provisional pole position.
And he's done an absolute humdinger of a lap. Wisniewski more than 0.2 clear of the field on a track where times have been so close, and they are so close for everyone just behind, as Lind just straight lines that chicane. He's in fourth place. Surely you can't do that. It's pretty big, isn't it? It's pretty big, the cutting there. We'll see what happens as Lind comes across the line. And does he improve? No, he drops down into fifth position. Brzezinski's in fourth. There comes a point with the cutting where you're just on the grass, and so actually getting any traction as you go up the hill. But Dennis Lind in fifth position at the moment. He's best of the real life racers, but only by 0.5 over Mike Epps, who's 1,000th ahead of Bono Huis. Very, very tight. The top 14 covered by less than 0.7 of a second. Less than 0.8 of a second, I should say. Yeah, Lind did lose. He didn't manage to get that lap time. They discounted it. But let's see what Brzezinski's not about to improve here either. From fourth place, Bono Huis down in seventh is behind both Lind and Epps, and he's second in our championship right now, Bono Huis. And he's been one of the consistent performers. Here's my man Kevin Siggy. That looked very good. He's done a very good first sector as well through the middle part. Look at concentration in the bottom left through the penultimate corner, right onto the cusp of the grass through the penultimate. Now out of the final corner. Don't know if this is going to be enough to beat Wisniewski though.
He didn't look very happy, did he, Kevin Siggy? I think the penultimate corner, he made a bit of a mistake. He was shaking his head at that point, so he's still in third spot. Yarofsky in second, Brzezinski fourth. Epps has got ahead of Lind then in fifth position and is best of the rest, and that might be the last of our runners. Yarofsky second across the line. I don't think anyone's going to have time to get one more lap in. Maybe Erhan Yarofsky with 10 seconds left, but it advances to warm up pretty quickly. So we'll see whether Yarofsky's got anything more in it. Huis is in seventh, Gunter in eighth, Hansen ninth. Gabby Chaves completing the top 10. Here comes Yarofsky to the chicane. Now the checker flag is out, but yeah, there we go. It's over. So it's Wisniewski on pole position then for the grand final. Nikodem Wisniewski yet to win a race in the race all-star series, fully charged by rocket phones. Will this be the one?
6 from 6. That would make it. Unprecedented.
Yeah. Unprecedented. So Nikodem Wisniewski will start on pole position. Erhan Yarofsky alongside him on the front row. Then it's Kevin Siggy and Kuba Brzezinski on row 2. Mike Epps is fifth ahead of Dennis Lind in sixth position. Bono Huis in seventh. Max Gunter is in eighth spot. And we got ninth position on the grid. Dennis is Kevin Hansen. Gabby Chaves completing the top 10. Esteban Gutiérrez in 11th, ahead of Ed Jones in 12th. 13th place behind Ed Jones is going to be a very racy Yifei Ye, who was very strong in the first race, but quite so strong there in that qualifying session. Tristan Vautier 14th, Collado 15th, Jack Aitken in 16th spot. Michael Benya here behind, Harry Tinknell, DeFrancesco, James Pull completing the 20 drivers. And there they are, lined up at the front of the field. The grand final, 35 points on the line. Nikodem Wisniewski on pole position, Erhan Yayovski alongside him on the front row of the grid. 35 points up for grabs as the race gets underway. Yayovski's got away very nicely. So has Kevin Siggy, who looks to the outside to try and make it 3 wide. Yayovski leads. Wisniewski into second place. There's a bit of contact there as Brzezinski forces his way past Kevin Siggy. Brzezinski up into third, Siggy down to fourth. Dennis Lind in fifth, sixth for Mike Epps. Huis, Gunter, Chaves, Jones. The rest of the top 10, big slide. I think that was Jones that was sliding. Ed Jones has gone around. I think Bono Huis has lost a couple of places there. He's dropped down into 10th position, but it's Yayovski leading. Mistake from Wisniewski there, but he goes over the grass and holds onto that spot, and Bono Huis is all over the grass again, fighting with Kevin Hansen now, down in 9th position.
Yeah, hectic start for Bono Huis, down to 9th place, so a lot of work to do. But Erhan Yayovski now with the best place, the lead of the race, with a great start from the inside, just had the line. And Kevin Siggy actually had a good start as well from third, but just got a bit muscled out around the outside from Brzezinski. So really, Yayovski, last week's winner, is now in a great place. If he got maximum points last week, the guys behind, Wisniewski and Brzezinski, Siggy and co, they can't let him run away with this one as well.
No, you're right. Otherwise, they'll have a very tall order to try and sort that out. That's a bit of a mistake there from Kevin Siggy. That could allow Dennis Lind the chance to attack. Not quite close enough, though. Lind in the second of the red cars, I should say, up behind the orange machine of Kevin Siggy, coming through the final right-hander and out onto the start-finish straight again. This race, double the distance. And this is lap 3 of 22. Max Gunter attacking Mike Epps. Mike Epps very firm with his defensive move there.
Yeah, he did. I mean, just savagely cut to the inside, but I think that was okay. But then he did perfectly down at turn 1, just to park it on the apex a little bit and not allow Gunter to slide through on the inside as Epps ran wide. He managed to stop it well and just defend that one nicely. So now Gunter drops towards Chaves more, who's up into 8th place and having a good race. And Chaves with Bono Huis just behind him as well. And we know Huis is quick, the sim racing regular, but he's got a lot of overtaking to do if he wants to salvage some points here.
Max Gunter there in the instead on the left-hand side. The BMW driver in Formula E is running in 7th position. This is Kevin Siggy right up behind Kuba Brzezinski. Yayovski's lead is up to 7 or 8 tenths of a second at the front. Siggy's trying to close in on Brzezinski, but they're already 2 seconds down the road from Yayovski. Huge.
Yeah, Yayovski right now is looking very good for this. Wisniewski is just under a second back, our pole man. He showed such great pace in qualifying to be quite comfortably on pole. He needs a bit more of that, and he's actually just starting to draw slightly nearer to Yayovski on this lap. Under 7 tenths the gap now out front, but again, we've seen overtaking very difficult. He's got to at least try and get closer, about 3 tenths away, and then you can pressure the race leader.
There you can see Bono Huis, the bottom left, running in 9th position. Very busy opening lap for the young Dutchman. All over the place, really, getting involved in all sorts of incidents, but he's still there, still on track in 9th position, even though it's not going to be a big haul of points from running there in 9th. A bit wide further back. I think that might have been Ed Jones on his climb back up the order. He's in 15th place. We're looking at Esteban Gutiérrez in 12th spot, up behind Harry Tinknell. This is Gabby Chaves in 8th position. Quite a quiet race so far. Wisniewski's only 6 minutes behind Yayovski up in front. We're looking at Gabby Chaves on the bottom left. Doesn't look like a very stable setup, does it, from Chaves? When he look how much the sort of desk that the wheel is attached to is moving. Maybe it's meant to be the case. I don't know.
Extra bit of force feedback over the bumps, maybe. He's just the whole desk moving as he turns the wheel. It is moving quite a lot, isn't it? Chaves has got Bono Huis right behind him coming out of the... This is a chance for Huis now, just a tenth and a half away and one corner away from a nice long straight and a bit of an overtaking chance, but he's lost a bit of ground in there in the penultimate corner, runs slightly wider in the final corner, and I don't think he's going to be able to do it. It seems like drivers are struggling with a bit of dirty air in these cars.
Yeah, I think you're right, especially through all of the fast corners. Chaves a little bit wide through turn one, but nothing too dramatic. Running in 8th place at the moment. Hanyayovsky's managed to get a couple of 2 or 3 tenths more advantage over Nikodem Wisniewski in 2nd place, Kuba Brzezinski in 3rd, Kevin Siggy 4th, ahead of Dennis Lind in 5th, who is a second or so ahead of Mike Epps. So everybody fairly equidistant. Big gap from Yayovsky to Wisniewski, but apart from that, everybody is fairly close to one another. In fact, Dennis Lind's only half a second behind Kevin Siggy, so that's quite a close fight over that 5th position.
Did a great job, Lind right now, just behind Siggy, the pro racer against the sim racer and the star of for me anyway, the opening rounds alongside, who's not even in this final. But yeah, Siggy's not been able to make any sort of inroads on Brzezinski. Brzezinski's dropped a long way away from Wisniewski, and Wisniewski dropped back the last lap a good couple of tenths away from Yayovsky, so now it's 8 tenths the gap, or even a little bit more. Here we go, Huis now past Chaves, surely on the inside this time.
Absolutely wheel to wheel, but he didn't quite managed to find the space there. That was so close between the two of them. Gabby Chaves still running in 8th position.
Just so difficult there I'm surprised that with Bono Huis looked like he had the drive coming out of the chicane. Then they might have had a slight touch as Chaves tried to shut the door on the inside, but nowhere through for Huis still. So he's still paying the price for that poor start, where he dropped a couple of places running wide.
Lap 8 of 22. Hanyayovsky still leading the way. Wisniewski in 2nd. This is Gabby Chaves we're watching in the bottom left. In 8th position, just holding on ahead of Bono Huis behind in what is a really good fight between the two of them, but Huis just can't quite find a way through. Qualified higher up the order than this Bono Huis, but has got shuffled back on the opening lap or so as they come out over the start-finish straight again.
Problem is, he can't follow through those last couple of corners. He's got a much better line through the chicane, Bono Huis. He slows it down more for the first part, and then has a much straighter exit, which means he's right on the back of Gabby Chaves into the final couple of corners, but they're quicker and he can't follow through them, so he's always dropping back just a couple of tenths, but it's enough to let Chaves off the hook down towards turn 1.
Lap 10 of 22. 5th position at the moment is Dennis Lind in the bottom left, who is the first of our real world racing drivers. He's up behind Kevin Siggy, but he's dropped quite a way back from Siggy now, so it's Mike Epps who is the man putting the challenge on in the battle to be the best world racer out there in the race All-Star Series, fully charged by rocket phones, and what Dennis Lind can do, because he's holding on at the moment, but Epps is going to want to close in and get past. Hanyayovsky, though, is out in the lead of the race, comfortably ahead of Nikodem Wisniewski now. He's just been gradually building that gap up, hasn't he?
Doing everything right, Yayovsky. 1.6 seconds, gradually, it's just suddenly rocketed out by a good half second. So he's doing everything right, and Wisniewski, in turn, is under no pressure at all. You can see just in the background the red car of Brzezinski, but he's nowhere near Wisniewski either. So the top 3 all pretty spread out right now. Then Siggy's still a second and a half back from Brzezinski. Then we've got that fight between Lind and Epps, and Gunter's right with them as well.
That's 12 of 22. There is Kuba Brzezinski in 3rd, pulling away a little from Kevin Siggy behind. Siggy in 4th, Lind in 5th, and Lind getting a little bit closed in on by Mike Epps, and Max Günther is coming with Epps a little bit. So I think that's the closest battle on circuit as Yuyovsky starts another lap. Lap 13 of 22, 1.7 seconds ahead of Nikodem Wisniewski in second. Brzezinski, this man, in third. Here we've got Gabby Chaves and Bono Huis still right together for 8th position, and still nothing can be done between Chaves and Huis. Oh, wide from Chaves! Maybe that was just his line.
Very wide. I think that was a bit wider than normal. Tucked in. The next corner really is where Huis is really strong. Into the chicane coming up now, but he's dropped back again through the faster corners. He just can't follow. And now is the time where he is quicker through the chicane. Look, cuts, opens up the final part of it, and now he finds some good time, under 2/10 away, but he'll just lose it in these two corners here. The right-hander, where you need a bit of downforce, he's lost 1/10.5, and then can he keep it through the sweeping final corner? He loses another little bit. That's the problem.
14 of 22. Erhan Yuyovsky leading the way, 2.4 seconds now ahead of Wisniewski. It's absolutely rocketed up, hasn't it, as you say, in the last couple of laps. Kuba Brzezinski still third. There's only 7/10 or so between, well, Lind, Epps and Günther in 5th, 6th and 7th are fairly equidistant to one another. The inset you're looking in the top right is Gabby Chaves' car, looking back at Bono Huis behind. Had a mind blank for a moment there, but we got in there in the end. And there is Bono Huis in the bottom left.
I wonder if Wisniewski's head's gone here. If he's just decided that it's Yuyovsky's day and there's nothing he can do. He tried for a while and he had quite good pace for a while, but he's either just got ragged and made a few mistakes in a row, or he's just dropped away and just fell into the gap between him and Brzezinski, because suddenly that gap is just going very quickly up to a comfortable 2 seconds, and Yuyovsky has this in the bag under zero pressure.
Bit of a mistake there from Dennis Lind, and that's allowed Mike Epps right up to... in 7th place. Epps in the yellow car in 6th position, and Günther goes a little bit wide. They're both trying to chase down Dennis Lind in the red car in front. Günther's off wide again, down towards the first corner, and just when that battle looked like it was closing up a little bit, there's a few errors here and there, and it drifts away again.
Tyres going off as well, potentially something to look at. Lind making it's twice as long as the heats for these guys. So particularly for the pro racers, Siggy being in 4th place, the end of that sim race, a battle basically. What we're looking at is Lind in 5th and Epps in 6th, being the top pro racers. Maybe not as used to dealing with the degradation, certainly in sim racing.
To the ABK bridge once more, down through the final plunging right-hander to start 17 of 22. Erhan Yuyovsky 2.3 seconds up the road from Nikodem Wisniewski in 2nd. Kuba Brzezinski 3rd, Kevin Siggy 4th, Dennis Lind in 5th position, and then it is Lind, Epps, Günther right together, and Huis has dispensed of Chaves. Chaves all the way down in 12th place.
Yeah, so he might have more than just passed him. He might have dispensed of him. I wonder, in the end of all of that, because Chaves, as you say, has lost 2 places. Might this be a replay? You know what? I think Chaves probably dispensed of himself there, just by coming across. I think Huis had an overlap, and you're in to leave a bit of space if the guy's got an overlap. So Chaves basically just had his the rear of his car as he moved over, taken out by the front of Huis. All blame on Chaves, and he's come unstuck with that one.
4 laps to go. Erhan Yuyovsky leading the way, but all the time this bottleneck keeps building behind Dennis Lind in 5th position as he battles to be the best of the real drivers, because there's points on offer for everybody. The top sim racer will win a test on an F1 simulator, and the top real world racer will earn money for a charity. So there's a lot at stake here in this battle between Dennis Lind and Mike Epps, especially as Dennis Lind didn't score very well in the first race at Sebring a week ago.
Nor did Mike Epps, to be honest, because he got caught up in all the shenanigans with it. back. So Gunter, I don't remember scoring well if he even raced last week. I always feel a bit rude when I say that, but I don't remember him in last week's racing. And they've all got Bono Huis now joining them after he's managed to escape the clutches of Gabby Chaves. So now we're in a 4-car train, few laps to go. And as you say, Jack, there are important points at play, not least for Bono Huis, who's in the overall championship standing fight.
So here they come up over the hill. You're absolutely right about Bono Huis, how he would love to swap an 8th place for a 5th position, which is what he can see if he can get past the 3 cars in front of him. But he's rapidly running out of time. Across the line to start lap 20 of 22 comes Erhan Yayovski leading the way, and then there's this Lind, Epps, Gunter, Huis fight down into turn 1 once more.
Close, but still no cigar for Mike Epps. He's got better pace than Dennis Lind, I think, right now, but it's the classic, the range of dirty air, basically 4/10 back, and they're not able to do anything about his rival in the red car just ahead. So Lind's still hanging on. They've dropped a long way back from Kevin Siggy now. This is where the sim races are making a big difference. Can we see Bono Huis making a difference and trying to pass Max Gunter now in the last couple of laps here?
That is Bono Huis we see on our inset in the bottom left, dropping down the hill through the right-hander, over the line to start the penultimate lap of the races. He's out on the grass. Bit of a mistake there from Bono Huis, and that could have cost him a run as they come down into turn 1 for the penultimate time. Now into the left-hander of turn 2. Huis immediately, though, despite that mistake, gets right up to the back of Max Gunter. But this man, Jolien, Erhan Yayovski, he was always a front runner, don't get me wrong, as he comes through to start his final lap of the race. He was a front runner, but the last 2 weeks, he's just pulled something out of the bag.
Yeah, he's found his form, hasn't he? When the points are counting. So I think Wisniewski's head's gone. I think the way that he's dropped back suddenly from being on pole position, he's either just absolutely shagged the tyres early on, or he's just decided that it's not his day, and he's just fallen right back towards Brzezinski now. But to be honest, Yayovski's pace is the best in the race, and it looks like he's going to take his second win in 2 weeks.
Well, it was Nikodem Wisniewski that had pole position, but Erhan Yayovski is coming towards the final couple of corners now. It's got quite close between Brzezinski and Siggy for 3rd place, but here at the final corner, out across the line, it's 2-2 for Erhan Yayovski in the race All-Star Series, fully charged by rocket phones. Extends his lead at the top of the championship. Brilliant drive. Wisniewski second, and it is Kuba Brzezinski that holds on to 3rd place, and Dennis Lind is just going to be best of the real world racers as he comes across the line in 5th position, ahead of Mike Epps, Max Gunter, and Bono Huis. Esteban Gutiérrez, I think, made a move right at the end there. But here's a look at the results. Erhan Yayovski taking the win, Nikodem Wisniewski in 2nd place, Kuba Brzezinski across the line in 3rd spot, Siggy 4th, Dennis Lind 5th, Epps, Gunter, Huis, Hansen, Gutierrez, the rest of the top 10 after a calm race up at the front, you have to say. But Erhan Yayovski won't be calm because he has put himself in a really strong position heading into the final race of the series next week as he takes the win in the grand final. In a couple of minutes' time, we'll have all the reaction when we come back.
Well, what a final. That is impressive. Our first double winner over the 6-race full series that we've had. And as you guys mentioned, the first 2-point races, and Yayovski wins them both. I think this Le Mans prototype car seems to suit him. He's very rapid in it. And if I'm not wrong, and I know I mentioned last week he qualified for World's Fastest Gamer 2 at Sebring. I think that was also in a Le Mans prototype car. So maybe this is just his wheelhouse.
You do get cars like in real life, Julian will attest, that suit different drivers better. Some drivers I did a touring car race the other week, and there are some people out there who won't drive a front wheel drive car. They can't get their head around it. They don't want to drive it. They're not happy doing it. whereas it's the same in sim racing as in real life racing. So maybe it really suits Erhan Yayovski.
My excuse is no car in sim suits me. I'll go with it. I'll take that excuse and I will run with it. Speaking of someone who's apparently suitable in more than just the sim world, obviously we called him Mr. Sim last week in terms of the real world drivers. Dennis Lind, factory Lamborghini driver, Super Trofeo winner, way back world winner, and now he's the winner of the real life drivers this week.
Yeah, Dennis, congratulations. Best of the real world races, but you had some big pressure for most of that race.
Yeah, Mike was putting us on a lot of pressure. It was for sure not easy, but with these cars, there's a lot of dirty air, so it's very easy, so to say, to slow down in the right places, and he has no chance, basically. So I got him. I got some weird damage after me and Siggy hit each other on the straight. So my car was oversteering like no tomorrow. So I was running out of tires in the end, so I was just a second off from them. So I had no chance of catching them, and it was just all about trying to keep Mike in the right position at the right time.
Yeah, we were wondering about the dirty air, how much effect it was having here, because it seemed to be sort of more prominent than at other races.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially the way it works with R-Factor 2, it's a little bit exaggerated in comparison to real life, because you don't have a lot of grip in the tires, so you're very relying on the downforce of the cars. So as soon I was behind Siggy, maybe 4 tenths, it was all right. As soon as you got within two tenths, you lost. Yeah, back to 4 tenths, back to 5 tenths, something like that. So it's very, very hard to make a pass, and there's no real big braking zones. I mean, you can make a dive into the chicane, but that's not really going to go well. So the track choice was very much for people who can qualify and start well, as I didn't do in race 1.
Okay, well, congratulations, Dennis. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Mike Epps certainly did put a lot of pressure on him. That has to be said. This week was a little bit cleaner for him. And obviously, Dennis Lind stayed out of trouble. Trouble certainly hit others further down. However, if you've got trouble maybe with your mobile device, we've got a solution, a speedy one. Rocket Smartphones, obviously, fully sponsoring and putting on the promotion with us this week. And Jack's got his in front of him. 3D screens on those.
Like, look at the box. It's like a really sturdy box. I love it.
Yeah, that thing's beastly. Maybe that's what I need. I break phones way too often. But yeah, head over to the website, rocketphones.com. You can see it just below me on the screen. And they've got a contest going on. All you have to do is name the 2 Rocket Williams Formula One drivers for the 2020 season. And you're entered, and you can win one. So go check that out right now. Don't forget as well, obviously, to follow us at We Are The Race on both Twitter and Instagram. You've also got to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Lots of content everywhere with esports and real racing, because there is still some news to make note of, despite that we're not on track per se. We're certainly on track for a great series final in a week's time. And what a grand final it is today. It was the world's fastest gamers. The Race All-Stars Series, fully charged by Rocket Smartphones. And that is an impressive double, a back-to-back from Erhan Yayovski. I think he's standing by, Jack, if you want to get a word with him, because it's the first double winner we've had in all 6 races, but let alone 2 in the championship.
Erhan, what a win. What a time to come into form. 2 wins out of 2, top of the championship, easy peasy.
Yeah, exactly. Like Dennis said, I had to make the move quite early on, because the dirty air is really, really tricky with these cars. So I got a perfect start, jumped Adam. First part of the race, he held on, but I think his tires died and just raced until the finish.
Great, simple as that. Thank you for talking to us, Erhan.
Thank you.
Well, that interview was about as necessary as his race, about as busy as his race.
Hey, simple to the point and keeping it quick. That's what we like. He's been very quick, and most notably, we saw some of the drivers not make it through from the qualifier of the sim racers last week. This week, his main challenger was Bono Huis, who finished second last time. We don't quite have an updated table as yet. I'm just waiting for that to come through. But either way, Bono was not there. He had a poor final. Rudy Van Buren, who had a poor final last week, didn't even make it this week. I mean, he's in a prime position. And don't forget as well, the winner of the real drivers gets 30 grand to charity, which might be Dennis Lind if he continues in this form. But the winner from the sim drivers gets to test a Formula One factory simulator, which is something that's behind closed doors to the rest of the world, including some of the real drivers within that world.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for them. And what a chance for Yayovsky, really, because everyone else that's in the mix would be just dropping points. We had Van Buren not making the final, also not having a great time of it last week. Simoncic, who's won a race, not making the final. Bono Huis didn't make the final last time. Bono Huis, had a bad race here. Kevin Siggy didn't make the final last time. Like, they're none of them are putting it together, really. I think Wisniewski must be the closest challenger. But Yayovsky, with 2 wins, he's basically just got to make the final next time, and he should have it.
But is that going to ramp up the pressure, I wonder, on Yayovsky? Because if you win the first 2 races, you're into the final race of the series. You end up sort of Lewis Hamilton 2008. You've only got to finish 6th or 4th or whatever.
I would hypothesize potentially that making it in through the qualifier is the harder part, because at least then he's in a point-scoring position. If he doesn't make it through the qualifier, it opens the door. Quick thought, really fast from each of you. Driver of the day.
Juan Pablo Montoya, because that's what Julian's going to say.
I go Jan Magnussen. I think the Legends race for me was the highlight of the day. Magnussen a win, and from last to 5th. That's pretty cool.
Brilliant.
Yeah, what an incredible race that first Legends Trophy race was. Listen, thanks so much for joining us again this week, to all the drivers as well. Stay safe, stay inside. We'll see you next week for the race series All-Star Battle and Fully Charged by Rocket Phones. We'll see you then.
The race leader, and Rudy Van Buren leads the way.
Oh, they're going to overlap. Massive contact.
Welcome to the race.
And the lights are up now. Great start then.
The Moto2 champion steps into the team that's dominating the championship.
I'm Scott Mitchell from the race. We're here at Barcelona.
Sebastian Vettel is fighting for his career.
There has to be a title assault, and anything less will be a failure.
Oh, and a spin!
We lost the GoPro.